side here, and so we've increased the plantings all along that side. And I think that was, oh, we added some lighting along the front entry walk. We added one stair light and then 2 bollards along the walk. And then on the other stair, the side stair, we added a 1 stair light at each set of stairs, so toilets.
I'm having
Can you
could
see
someone
it?
switch off the
Those
lights
lights on the
back? It's so
side?
bright, it's kind of washing it out. And then could you just guide us through the
Sure.
pointer?
Maybe a little
more.
Yeah, I need to be there when,
There you go.
thank you, now we can see.
So here is the entry rating.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you put your light on? Catherine, can you enlarge it?
Doesn't enlarge.
It is.
Okay, that was a quick flashback. So here is the front. Can you see it? Yeah, it is better. So this is the front, the jumping front walk here, goes right up here. And then there's a set of stairs right at the bottom, and we put in 1 step light in the wall. And then there are 2 low bollards here for lighting along the path. And then on the side stair, there's 1 stair light here, and then 1 at the upper staircase there. And you can see on the submittal that it increased it very minor. It was still under the, what was it, under the 6th?
It's 22,000 is the.
You're now at 14,593.
Okay.
And then additionally, here we added 2 birch trees. So we sort of were able to pull these a little bit away from the property line since we have more space and eased off on this grading. We're able to shorten this sidewalk quite a bit because we can really keep this all at grade. And we've increased the buffering all along the side of the house here. We added a birch tree on this corner of the house, which I think will also soften that facade for the neighbor. So that's the sum of it. Kim has looked at it, and she really didn't have any comments on this. She thought it was good.
That was beautiful.
Okay. Did she send an email or? How did she?
How did she phrase it?
Yeah.
She did use the word beautiful.
Okay. I believe you.
Like
But
choice
we
of
were
plants.
expecting her tonight, so I don't know if I have a comment
Maybe you're stuck in traffic. Yeah.
to it. I'm sorry, I don't have it, but
Okay.
she is very pleased with it.
She signed off on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And the new lighting plan follows is the next sheet, this one. So it
This is
shows the
the-
path lights.
Yeah, so there's the 2 path lights. And then we located the step lights on the outside wall so that they don't have any shine towards the road, so they'll just shine on the steps.
Okay.
Catherine, could you refresh what you're responding to? I know you were responding to the request for report, just to make sure that those.
We were
requests-
responding to saving 2 large trees
Okay.
in this well,
That's what you- as well as our.
and as well as that property, correct, the tree.
All right, any comments from the board?
We did talk last time about physical protection for the large firs at the west, and I guess that should be in our conditions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully the
That's what you say.
Huh?
If we ever be able to.
And-
Right, so
Right.
basically make sure,
These
you know,
guys are the
fences,
ones who pull.
compaction.
Yeah. So,
So is these two?
how are those designated to be saved on the drawings? What are you saying about it?
It would be on, if the tree appears on this drawing, it is city. We don't have any tree demolition on this drawing, it's all on the engineer's plan.
But we talked about special precautions with the construction fences.
Correct. And that was in the condition, somebody had sent us a condition which read appropriately that it would protect the trees, and they would be set up at the drip line of the existing trees, and there would be some inspection by arborists at an interval. So that seemed like a reasonable
And
condition.
I thought it was more than just a little plastic orange fence,
Right.
it was actually.
It was a
something
chain
that was
link.
Chain link in the, yeah, so a little
Yes.
bit, when the bobcat hit it, it wouldn't just totally fall.
So what we did is we took that tree protection condition involving the chain link fence out of the prior decision and asked Kim, would this be appropriate here? She said yes, so we already passed that condition on, so everyone knows, the team knows that it's coming
Okay.
to protect those trees.
So is that going to go on to the construction documents so the contractor is aware of it?
We can add that to the
You
notes.
might,
I would think that would be
Yeah.
really important that the
yeah,
contractor
exactly.
knows.
When he puts up, he's responsible for the fence.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, very.
That's a good question.
Where's that protection chain link actually going around which trees?
It's going around these two here,
Yeah.
and then up in this corner, we're gonna protect, I think we'll probably just wrap this whole thing right up across around there. Because there's one right here that also needs to be
Yeah,
protected.
you wanted those two, that,
This,
Oh, you,
that buffer on that property line, because they have the septic right there.
Right.
Okay, any other board comments?
No, but
looks great.
Yeah. Right, okay, so we'll add that. Any comments from the audience?
Thank
Yes.
you. Gordon Whitman, 125 Newton Street, immediate butter on the our side. If I could ask the landscape architect, I can't see from the distance here, what is the height of the new plantings specified here?
we did actually increase it on the last pass. It looks like, let's see, 12 to 14. 12 to 14 foot height.
I think it's better than what it was. I think it was 8 to 11 or something before, so.
I think it was 11 to 12, but that's where they are now, 12 to 14s. And the birch trees are higher, 14 to 16s.
Okay. A question on, I don't need the pointer, if you don't mind, I could just.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. There are several trees that are actually on my property here on this line that provide a lot of buffer by overhanging into the neighboring land. What happens to those? Do they have the right to get rid of that buffer or not?
To get rid of trees on your land?
No, the trees overhang from my land onto their
Or do
land.
they have the right to cut limbs on your trees? Is that?
Well, that's what I'm worried about. That provides a lot of the buffer here to the property over in this area and here in particular.
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of that would depend on what's being underplanted close to those trees.
I can show the board a couple of pictures I just took this afternoon that might give them some idea of how that works. There's several here that you can see that this is the lot there, the lot line, and that you can see how a lot of the vegetation.
So how much do you estimate they actually
I'd say-
arc over?
I'd say they'd arc over maybe 15 to 20 feet.
And are they deciduous or,
Excuse me?
they're deciduous
That
or
one
they're?
is.
That one is, yeah.
Okay, so it's just
Some of them are firs.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be, it's not exactly professional. Sorry, folks, I don't.
Yeah.
But you can see my concern. Right now, it provides a healthy measure of buffer against a new house that's 3 times as large as the existing one. I'm quite anxious to see if that's
What is the plan for the new plantings relative to these existing ones?
Well, I'm assuming that canopy is quite high, I can't see his photograph, but those are, you know.
Doesn't actually look.
Yeah, I think that we can plant under the canopy and
If I could just show you some of the, it's hard to see, maybe here's the lot line going over, this is the deciduous tree.
and it's hard to tell the height of
Yeah.
that branch.
That's probably 8 feet.
So that won't work, that branch particularly, since we have 12-foot trees along this property line. So there would have to, if you know, there's gonna have to be some way to install them and have them get light. So if we have an 8-foot branch and a 12-foot tree, it doesn't quite work. Unless we can move the trees around the branch, but I'm not really clear on how it's gonna work
It's
with
gonna be your
that.
best long-term term buffer. The other thing is depending on where the root ball, drip edge of those trees on the butter's property is, and where you're gonna be digging holes for
It's
the new
quite
stuff.
far in. You can see the tree, it's like right here.
Right, but if he has branches which are going on.
This
the
would be a good
property,
example
drip
here,
edge
for instance,
is
of
going
the,
out
of an
there.
overhang.
Yeah.
That's on, you can see where the lot line is here, and that tree goes in quite a bit.
It is.
I'm just suggesting
Show-
that
show
you
me
might
the
stake it out with the butter.
That might be a better
before it all
picture,
gets
to give you
laid
some
out.
idea of the
Now, one of the
overhang.
things that can be done is artful pruning, so that it takes it back a little bit, and then you'll have growth from that point on, and it'll allow the trees that are replanted to survive. But I'm not an arborist. I might actually show that to Kim. She might be
You
able
just
to-
showed up right
Can-
on top.
My question is, can the board address anything that you were very concerned from having that buffer,
Yeah.
if that can be maintained
Here's what I
or
would
something?
suggest.
Yeah.
Kim, the question is how to deal with the branches coming from the trees on the neighbor's property and
There.
minimizing or eliminating the need to remove those branches because they provide quite a bit of screening for his house. And I think one of the suggestions was that, you know, you just position the new plantings in a way that they don't interfere with the branches from the neighbor's property, which is sort of one of our standard conditions anyway, that the final positioning of the planting is coordinated with Kim, so that you don't need to remove them in order to make the planting work. And that works out pretty well as a rule. I mean, so we could make that condition that no branches are going to be cut, and that we would place the new plantings appropriately in coordination with our landscape architect, so that it provides the most effective screen.
I'd be very, very pleased to hear that condition.
But can we have the condition not read that no branches can be cut, because we may have to prune branches? I mean, that whole area has been so derelict and left, you know, there's been no care to any of the trees on this property. So any normal pruning that would have occurred by a property owner has not occurred. As you know, you've been to the site. So to say we can't prune or allow, because we're really proposing the screen for both of these abutters, and we're spending substantial investment here. So, I mean, the branches of the tree are fine. I don't mind accommodating the tree, but I don't want to have our hands tied so that the screen does become ineffective because of a branch that's 6 feet off the
You
ground.
did say that this is a low branch, and it's 20 feet.
Well, there are three trees, so it's not just one branch.
But it's quite encouraging.
I mean, if it was a high canopy of a,
Right.
you know, shade tree, I think that would be no problem, because we're south of him, and so we would get the sun.
Right.
You know, he wouldn't shade us, but if the tree is hanging so
We
far
need an
over.
arborist to actually take a good look at it, see if it could be pruned back a little bit so that.
I think that the state law is that any branch that overhangs onto your property, you have the right.
I know, that's
Yeah.
right, you do. There is that state
Law.
law, right, so that's why I'm trying to, you have to give a little bit on this.
But
Because,
maybe one way of looking at this is I think both of you are trying to screen each other from each other.
right,
And the question is, can you work together using that much landscaping, which is quite a bit that you know, the new owners are going to put in, and what you're going to see, and place the trees accordingly. It sounds to me like if you had Kim and your landscaper, and you took a look from where your prevailing viewpoint is that you're trying to screen, you know, that you could locate things pretty much where you want to, and not see each other, and keep, whether it's the new trees that screen you, or whether it's the old branches.
Well, what about going back to the idea that the final disposition of the screening, it takes, is sort of a process of negotiation with the conditions on the site between the neighbor and you and our landscape architect.
That's absolutely fine. I just didn't want the condition that they can't cut branches that are.
Yeah, I don't think you would write that off.
And you can attend such a meeting, right?
I've attended 6 of these so
Well,
far.
not here, but I mean
No,
on
it's
site.
gotta be on site.
On site, so when they say, I'm gonna put a tree here, you can look and say, actually, I want it 2 feet that way, or actually, you
I'm
know.
willing to participate in that.
Because I think
certainly.
that's where you're gonna be happy,
Mhm.
because then you'll have said, this works for me.
That brings to mind a question. In terms of seeing how this plans out and whether it conforms to the planning schedule, how does the board enforce that?
Well, we have the planner and our consultants go out and check periodically.
Oh, okay. So is that
Construction
Kim?
progress.
Is that?
Yeah, she's our landscape.
Okay, so you would be monitoring what goes in there?
I have to sign off on the final.
Gotcha.
construction
Okay, great.
To get the.
That's all I need to know. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Right.
Retrieve this exhibit in here.
You can do that.
Any other comments? Okay, in that case, we will continue the hearing to look to read and vote on the decision. No testimony. We're just going to be looking at our decision and at the draft decision and then voting on it on what date?
20th.
The 20th. So that will be the end of the planning board process.
How do they set up the date when they have the meeting to decide where the trees actually go?
Well,
That's
I'm
another
just-
discussion?
That's another discussion.
Okay, that's fine,
We
that's
can't
fine.
stipulate it at this point, because we don't know, we don't know.
So
how it's
landscape
gonna
and
I mean, that's
the two
between-
abutters will get together and make a decision.
They have to call us.
Yeah,
Call us when it's
Between EMI and
Okay.
and
Right.
the applicants and the
And
neighbors.
hopefully they'll give them at least 3 days notice.
Yeah, I mean, right, it's,
Should be a minimum in there.
we do it all the time.
Okay. A lot of these people, never done it before, they don't know what it's all about.
Yeah, but they're professionals here. Yeah.
All right. You'll get a call from Kim. I'm finding this out.
From EMI.
From Imai, sorry.
So am I.
There we go, from Imai. So Imai will call.
EMI is the ringmaster. Yeah.
And you have, he has your number.
All right, great. If there's nothing else, we're done for this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready to open a continued hearing for 45 Willard. Site plan approval. Who's making the presentation on this?
All of us.
All of you.
Start with landscape, and then we have stormwater
Good.
and architecture.
All right, in that case, we will go by our usual standard, 20 minutes or so for the presentation, and then 10 for the planning board to comment, and then comments from the audience.
Ooh, I could say
If you need 20, you can, but if you can do it in 15, all the better. Okay.
Hi there, my name is Angela Kearney with Maplewood, site planning and landscape architecture, representing Joe and Cheryl Scaparata, Vistamar Development for site plan review at 45 Willard Road in North Weston. We have Snelling and Hamel doing survey site plan, Peter Gamey, Columbia Design, civil engineering, and stormwater. Pierre Crown, septic, not here tonight, and Keith Gross, HDS architecture. Site plan, you can see in the darker hatch is existing house. The lighter hatch is proposed. Let Keith get into more of that when we get to the architecture. Working within zoning setback, trying to maintain very close to existing grades. The footprint is somewhat larger because it's a single-story dwelling, ranch style. We're going to start with the landscape. We were out at the site a couple weeks ago, and some things changed based upon our discussions there. The area along the east property line was a dugout, not even a swale, no wetland characteristics. Probably back in agricultural days, just dug out ravine. And so that we talked about grade leveling in cooperation with the neighbor. That has been done. We submitted calculations showing that we were under the thresholds for the minor permit. What is that? Stormwater. Thank you.
Stormwater permitting authority.
Thank you. So currently, then it was resurveyed. So what is showing our current existing grades on the site. And then along the southern border, several trees were removed due to storm damage in 2017. So that was opened up quite a bit. We went ahead and planted. This is showing the looking this direction. So they also own 37 Willard, and we were before you. That is currently under construction. Before you in 2016. So moving across that south edge, this is the west side on 30, the boundary of 37 into 45, existing conditions. The other side where the fill was done and in the middle. So this was the area that had a pretty substantial opening, and we went ahead and put in several 12 to 14 foot native evergreen and deciduous trees.
What house is that looking at?
The Malones. The Malones.
The Malones. So, and this work was done with their participation. So then,
Now, where are those trees on the site plan? Just so people
all
know.
along here. And those are surveyed in now as existing trees. All of the heights and evergreen and deciduous are labeled on the plan. We can add the species list. And then here's the picture of where the fill was done, primarily on the neighbor's property.
So that's all Bemis I'm looking at behind?
This is looking.
This, yeah.
Actually, that's a Willard.
So this is now looking on the east property line here. And you can see
So you had the other
the
houses.
existing grades.
You don't have a four neighborhood site plan, but okay.
We do have
We have a context plan.
so this is the plan for 37, if we want to look at that. And then here's the sections. So we have
So you don't have stuff on top of
east,
that.
west,
Yeah,
45, and then north, south. So this is the house that's behind.
and 45.
Sorry,
no.
this is the house that's behind.
Yeah.
And when
And
it gets,
then this is the area to the east.
right, and so when that one-story building takes over, it's going to be sizably different.
Yes, pretty much about this size.
It was a wooded line before.
So I'll go ahead and, we want to jump to stormwater, architecture, and then come back.
I think we should back up with
Okay.
history a little bit here,
Some
so.
of us are confused.
So let me pop out of this here.
Okay. And also maybe a little description of what the new plantings are.
Sure.
Yeah, this is the first public hearing. So when we were on site, a couple weeks and, almost a month back now, this was, let me see if I can- this was when it was staked out. There was like a large, that's going to the other side. This is probably, there was like a large drop here. The neighbor here they both wanted to kind of fill in this low area. And since it was going across property boundaries, what we told them to do was do that, outside of the permit of this work. It'll be writing the conditions to get the two together, and involving another property just would be too cumbersome if they could fix that first. So that's why the hearing on the last date was continued, and it's been a while since we were out there walking on the site. So they've done that in the meantime, and so today it looks a little more like this on that site. Yeah, so that's where they've filled in here. So it's gotten, smoother here, and the grading kind of stops right past this rock in this area here. So when we were site visited, the trees were already removed. If you look at the aerials and from our site visit at 37 Willard, it did appear like, as my recollection at least, and some of the photos showed, that there were a lot more trees on site and in between the border. Those are the ones that they said were removed, I guess, for storm damage. They were removed. So there have been a lot of trees, not knowing really what the character of the site was like before we made our site visit, just looking from the Google Earth images that they presented and the pictures we took at 37 Willard. Yeah, it did seem like there was a lot more woods on there. So to that end, that's why they've done this planting here, which is what was shown to you, and I think I can get a little wider shot of that here. So that's what they planted in on that edge there now, to come in and fill in what was taken out. And they are, that's the edge against Bemis, yeah. So that one was the edge. So this is what it looks like up against Bemis now. And then there's this edge, which has also lost a few trees. These here, and then some on the side of 37 Willard as well were taken out for storm damage. So one thing that's going to happen is they're going to have to come back for an amendment to 37 Willard, which we'll have to treat separately. But on this edge too, they've lost some. There's some plantings that have gone on in here on 37 Willard already. These darker green ones are the ones that both.
What are the darker green ones that are being proposed?
That,
We went with a lot of the trees that are out there: Norway spruce, white spruce, concolor fir. I don't think there's hemlock on this one.
There's those three.
White spruce.
One says, looks like AC, CC, and
So concolor fir. The CC is a deciduous. For 37, this was approved, is already proposed, and these have not been installed yet. These are evergreen, rhododendrons, and then one deciduous
and
in between.
when you say evergreen, that covers a lot of ground.
12 to 14 foot native.
Native what?
80s concolor, white fir.
Like fir, and what about the other one? It's different.
Well, the RT is a smaller flame leaf sumac in between, because the concolor firs are part of the 37
Okay, so
approved plan.
Are those in now for 37 since that was a year ago?
As you saw in the pictures, there's 37 has just had septic installed, so site grading,
Okay.
final grading, and planting. These trees are installed,
Okay,
but we have, and the trees up towards the road are installed. This is open to get the final grades across both properties.
Okay, so the one on, the top one is a sumac. The lower two, the dark green ones, are evergreens,
Correct.
conifers.
12 to 14, Concord white fir, 12 to 14. This is a deciduous.
That's a deciduous.
Mhm.
So
And
it's a
then,
sumac and a deciduous.
and then right here is another evergreen, but we have 2 evergreens for 37. We can make it an evergreen, but kind of trying to make it similar in character to what's going on down where it's a mix of evergreen and deciduous.
Sure.
To get some more of the canopy trees.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what you're actually proposing for this
Mhm.
lot. So a sumac, a deciduous, and I'm not sure what it is, and then an evergreen, which is a fir, I think, right?
Correct.
Sumac,
Wait for
No, the one at the bottom is a fir.
sumac is deciduous.
Yeah, the two of the upper two are deciduous, and there's one fir tree. Okay.
I'm sort of stuck at just, I'm not sure how this like that. Did it come before us before?
No.
Don't we usually address trees and
How large is the
site
house?
features and other things? Just saying, from my experience,
They were-
that's how we do things. I was just wondering how this all came about. It's because these are related lots?
It's because they're related lots. So, but this particular lot hasn't come before us before, so that clearing was all done before.
So
the
is
permit
that why
here.
you've done a lot of the planting sort of as to make up for the clearing that you did before the approval by the board? So we get to see, manipulation of land forms and things?
Yeah, to get a good start at that buffer so that you can see what we're intending for the edges to be.
Were there any really large significant trees moved in order to make a big flat yard?
There were, and we discussed this with 37, there were several huge multi-trunk pine trees that were 60 feet tall and snapping off in storms before we came in for 37. That's pretty much all the trees.
Remember, this neighborhood has had a lot of trouble with pine trees, branches snapping off, and the neighborhood doesn't particularly like the pine trees.
Anti-pine up there, huh?
so
I'm just saying.
right now, are these 2 lots still owned by the same person? They are. And they're speculative, is that what's going on? And one's 2-story and one's 1-story.
The
That's what I'm just trying to get a
2-story
feel of
Yeah,
it.
is on the market to be sold.
Okay, so that's,
And they can
Okay.
speak to this. The 1-story you're planning to live in.
so you're living in the you're living in the 1-story, going to live in the 1-story.
Yes.
And the 2-story is going to get sold, okay?
Correct. And they're living in 45 right now, in the existing dwelling. So part of the planting was to work with the neighbor to get some of that situated before construction happens. And then to find that construction barrier and have that screening starting to get established and grow.
Yeah,
during
I
construction.
understand, it just is sort of kind of a workaround, the planning board is kind of what I'm saying. That's just my view, and unfortunately I didn't go on the sidewalk.
Are they, square footage wise, how large is this one on 1 floor?
I think the RGFA is about 4,800, and it's got a 3-car garage, so it's about 4,000 feet of living area.
Yep, and the plot itself?
0.69 acres, which
30,000 square feet. Any of the trees that were addressed were both neighbors, the Malones at the back end and the Woodsides, Fred is here. These are trees that were either damaged or fear of causing more damage. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Malone's lot, but it is very meticulous, and I heard about every single tree along the back edge, and I can assure you this much, that that's in full compliance with what they like.
Yeah, I understand all of that, and all of that is probably true, but
No, it is true.
but I'm taking your word for it, is what I'm saying. Normally, the presentation is ahead of time before these things happen, so we have some say. So it's just a little bit of a rework that we're not used to, and it's not something we particularly encourage, or at least I don't particularly think it's a good idea to encourage this.
It certainly wasn't intentional, nothing
No, not
was done
intentional.
intentionally to circumnavigate.
Well, and I can see you're trying hard to, do, reasonable plantings in between and stuff, but I'm just saying that this is not behavior we really want to encourage at all.
I think part of the challenge is you get the tree clearing crew and when you own two lots, economies of scale and
Then
paying
at
for
that point
one
in time,
crew.
both lots should have been presented at the same time, is my point. Is if you're going to treat them as the same lot, then it really should have been presented as two lots rather than just say, well, we're here, let's do it. It's
Yeah,
ways,
it
it's ways to
wasn't-
get in trouble, and I'm glad you're not going to get in trouble, but it's ways
Yeah.
to get in trouble with us.
Totally understand. Part of it was the design development, needing the funds to
There's always lots of
make one.
excuses.
Yeah, it's not an
Yeah,
excuse, I'm
There's
just saying
always
that's
lots
what-
of reasons why, but
Yeah.
in fact, it's circumventing our due process.
Right, well, it is what it is now, so.
And you are replanting.
So, Kim, have you had a chance to look at what they're proposing at all? Yeah, okay. And you knew about the screen planting they put in along the back property line
No,
No.
I mean, I'm looking at it.
for the first time?
I mean, I saw it a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just say what I said at the sidewalk, and I know not all of you were there, is that when we first looked at 37 before the development of either lot, the character of the neighborhood was very different in terms of the vegetation. And I knew there were, I heard the concerns about the pines and could see that there was down limbs and some that were definitely, not secure, but my memory is that there were other trees in there as well. And maybe some of them were smaller, but it was striking enough to me going to the sidewalk for this one, the openness and then the character of the neighborhood now versus when I was there for the sidewalk for 37, that I stated that at the sidewalk, that it was striking, the change in the character of the neighborhood.
Just out of curiosity, why did you decide on a single-story house as opposed to one that's 2 stories? Because it takes up a lot of the lot.
My hip,
Pardon?
my hip.
She's
The up and
worried
down,
about us
the up and down.
aging in place.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, that was obviously a driver in the whole planning process.
The one thing that I think is quite laudable is that you have engaged the neighborhood in these discussions, from what I'm understanding. And I think there are some abutters here who are supporting you or have worked with you to make sure that the buffer screen is working, that there's no problem. I'm assuming that if there is, they'll stand up and say something.
Yeah, Fred.
But I'm assuming you're here because
We're okay with it, they can work with us and what it is.
you're good with it.
We've been neighbors for 15 years, and anything we do together.
Okay.
So we we work together. And if it wouldn't work for him, it's not gonna work for us. And the same thing for Mr. Malone, in the back as well. And then we have the property on the other side as well. But we wouldn't have started this process if it didn't work for the neighborhood.
It's always good to hear.
That's true, except the neighborhood is not the planning board.
Yeah, no, we respect what the planning board does, but we also feel that we need to make sure that we start with our neighbors
Yes.
and end with our neighbors. And I think that's exactly why we're here, so we appreciate your time today.
All right, why don't we, are we finished with the landscaping? Any other? Why don't we move on and talk about the lighting? Are you doing the lighting?
Yes, very minimal. Here's the cut sheets. We have sconces, dark sky compliant sconces at the doors. Are we back into the presentation?
Yeah.
You can,
Great. So this is 37, just highlight, these are the existing trees that came down, storm damage, and what Imai was referring to, the couple over here. I can't read that. Two recessed LED porch lights, and a porch light there, no pendants. Dark sky sconce, 1, 2, 3, 4, on the 5, 6 on the garage. Doors, so we have 3 recessed, 8 sconce, 7 path lights, low voltage, total of 12,000 lumens. Egress only,
No post light?
no post light.
All right, why don't we move on? Thank you. Why don't we move on to the architecture? Who's the architect? Keith, you're the architect?
Yeah.
All right.
How's this thing with, forward, backward?
This one, and then the red is
Yeah, so there's the RGFA calculations for the house. You can see on the right side is a 3-car garage. And above that, which is the plan on the left, is a small developed attic area, which is for an office, home office. The plan lays out so that there's a entrance on the right-hand side with the dining room to the right of that. 3 bedrooms along the Willard Road side to the left. The master bedroom at the left rear with master bath and closets. And then center of the back, it's a family room, kitchen, open to each other. And then off to the right is the stair going up to the attic, and at the very back, it's a breakfast area. And as was mentioned, it's all for being able to age in place and to deal with potential physical limitations.
Deck in the back?
Yes, then there's a deck all the way across the rear. It's about 12 feet deep, I believe. Yeah, there's a little better plan showing the layout with the proposed potential furniture. So you end up with a big kitchen, family room in the center, master bedroom to the left, 3 bedrooms to the front, and then the entry hall. We're planning to have a lot of raised ceilings, whether it's cathedral or tray-type ceilings, so that would impact the ability to really develop the attic in the future. And we're also really contemplating using trusses for roof structure, so that, except over the garage where that we intend that to be developed, and there's a separate stair that goes up to that.
Is there a basement?
Yeah, there's a basement.
Full basement?
It's a full basement. We have window wells on the left that are potential egress, so we've made those the deep wells. Across the front, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 windows that are at grade, and then there's 2 more basement windows at grade on the right-hand side. All across the back, there's nothing because that's deck all the way across the rear. And we do have a walkout basement door that goes to a stair that comes up to grade instead of having a bulkhead. Sort of old fashioned, but they prefer to do that. And architecturally, we're trying to develop something that's in the sort of arts and crafts kind of style. To work with the one-story gable ends and the character of arts and crafts houses. So the top is the view towards Woolwood Road. The bottom view is the garage that faces towards 37, and the back door, which goes into a mudroom. And then the rear is at the top. That's facing south with the deck all the way across half of it. And then the right side, which faces to the east.
How high is it with respect to 37 and the other house on the other side?
It's a lot shorter. I can't remember offhand.
Because it looks like the roof itself is equal to a second story.
It's a lot less than number 37. Yeah, that was about 35 feet. I think this is, what, 27 feet or 28 feet high?
At the average mean grade.
Yeah. The average grade.
Sections are back.
Sections.
You have site sections or?
Oh, the landscape
Yeah,
sections, yeah, there.
What's what?
I guess the dark mass, it's like you're looking at it from Willard Road. Number 37 is on the right. And,
Looked like they were about the same.
The peaks there. Is that an accurate scale?
I'm not so sure.
And what's a little tiny house on the far right?
Well, that's the next door neighbor.
Yeah, that's 33. And this is the section in the other direction. So it's, similar in height to the property at 54, which it looks like has a sort of a attic space that's developed for second story. Next. Questions?
No, that's good. Might as well address civil engineering. We're sort of doing this, the reverse of the usual process. Peter, I guess you're up next.
Do you have any drawings on that?
What's that?
I don't know if you have drawings on that.
Yeah, I think I do, don't I?
Before the sections.
Oh, is
I don't know.
Okay. So, this lot's around 30,000 square feet, and the topography runs essentially from Willard Road in that direction. It's about average 7% grade, sort of slope across the property. The existing house, you can faintly see it here. You can see it's much smaller than the proposed house, as well as the existing driveway is also much smaller than the proposed driveway. So the net result is about 6,500 square foot increase in impervious surface. So without any mitigation, we would have a large increase in runoff. That's why we have 3 infiltration systems. This one here is 6 chambers. The second system, I don't know how many there are, 12, and there's another like 12 over that. So this first one here takes all the runoff from the front half of the house and stores it in this system here. This one takes all the driveway runoff, it comes down to a catch basin and is stored in this large system underneath the driveway. And the third system takes the back half of the house and the garage runoff and stores it in this system here. The result, when you compare the existing to proposed, there's a dramatic decrease in runoff for all storm events. So I didn't want to take any chances with this site in terms, because of the large increase in impervious surface. I want to make sure that we essentially over-designed and kept all of our water on the site. So that's, and the soils were relatively good. It's a loamy sand. I used the Rawls rate of 2.41, which is a pretty conservative exfiltration rate. So from a stormwater perspective, I don't see any, Dave, you can chime in, but I don't think there's going to be any issues with that. And then the other utilities, you got new water service and gas and electric coming in. Electric comes in from a utility pole here, comes across, and that's essentially it.
Is your electrical, sorry.
How wide's the driveway here?
14 feet, I believe, my recollection is correct.
Why?
Because I think that's the town's requirement.
Well,
12?
Fire department. Fire department.
no, but no, we go through this all the time.
Yeah, every time.
It's,
Happy to decrease it.
yeah. I mean, it's-
Drive
it's
slow,
quite
slow down.
strange.
Most likely a fire truck would stay on Willard and go straight to the
Yeah,
house.
This
It wouldn't go
is a
down
short
the
driveway, it's not, it's, they're not gonna set up at the end of the driveway, they're gonna set up outside the house.
It's 12 feet, I'm sorry.
12, okay, good.
14 seems a lot.
I thought we were.
Let's see what else we need.
Your electric is underground?
That's what I was talking about doing, was going from the utility pole running underground.
Okay.
Any other comments, guys? No? Steve? No. Kim, is there anything about the landscaping that you want to add? I mean,
For, if this were the situation today, I would agree with this one.
yeah.
If you wanted it to, if you wanted the landscape to complement the current neighborhood context, it does that, and that's what I'm supposed to look at, right, neighborhood context. But if it were from 3 years ago, then
Yeah.
probably not.
Totally different
But
story.
looking at it today and the character of the rest of the house in the neighborhood, it fits.
Yeah. All right.
But that is after significant site manipulation.
Not just the houses though that are under site plan review, but like the whole neighborhood.
Right.
The whole neighborhood is
The whole
changed.
neighborhood is like,
Yeah.
Right.
every time we've gone out
Yeah,
there, it's like
it's transforming itself.
trees just everywhere.
All right, I guess civil engineering's okay, Dave? Yeah. Where's the water table, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, the water table is not an issue.
It's down below the basement?
Yeah, so nothing's really raised or anything like
Yeah.
that. Alon, you had something about the electric, or you asking about the electric?
No, just making sure it was underground.
Yeah.
What's the headroom height in the basement?
It's conventional, it's like just over 7.5 feet to 7.8 maybe.
To the bottom side of the joist?
Underside of Joyce, maybe it's 8 feet, I can't remember offhand. It's not 9 feet. We have 9 foot first floor ceilings, but not in the basement, it's only 8 feet. But that's not controlling the height of the house.
No, it's more just, it's a big basement. It's a big basement.
Okay.
Let me ask one question. Are any of the trees that are going in of significant stature when they reach maturity, or are they all understory type trees?
No, there's, the evergreens will get quite large.
Okay.
And there are some other large canopy trees, and then there's a mix of everything.
But I guess if the neighborhood is concerned about pines, these evergreens are not pines, they're something else.
Firs.
Okay, all right,
Not a single pine.
okay.
We have to point out that while the neighborhood's transforming, there is an issue with the lot clearing bylaw. And I think what we need to do in our decision is write a justification for why the lot got cleared. Because the objective of the lot clearing bylaw is that you don't clear a lot before the planning board reviews it. In this case, that's what happened, for whatever reason. And I understand the neighborhood's 100% in support of it, but we need to justify this in our decision in order to at least address that particular issue of the bylaw. And I'll leave it up to Imai to craft the language that addresses that issue. All right. Comments from the neighbors? Any? Nobody wants to say anything?
Well, we live across the street, my mother lives next door. We're in full support of it. It's cleaned up the neighborhood, it's made it look a whole lot nicer. Joe's working with everybody, asking their opinion, where do they want trees, where do they want this, where do they want that. So it couldn't be a better situation. You're right, the neighborhood is transforming itself.
Yeah.
It was a pretty dumpy neighborhood.
We got the impression the neighborhood was 100% in support of what's going on, so.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, I'm at 213 Marion, not exactly in a butter, but it's definitely making a marked improvement. You know, granted, you mentioned clear cutting, and I appreciate your support of taking care of that clause. It's really improving the neighborhood. It's really making a dramatic difference. And if you look at the houses on the street, I mean, Joe's improving it to the point that it's hopefully inspiring more people to do more work in the house. Because some of the houses need some work, some real work.
All right, thank you. By the way, if you're making comments, would you just identify yourselves? That would be terrific.
Do you want the name too?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Andrew Schaff.
And your name?
I'm Fred Woodside.
Right. Anyone else
Sorry,
want to comment? No? All right, in that case, we'll continue the hearing to the 20th, is it?
Yeah,
We'll look
we'll
at
go
the
with
draft
the 20th.
decision?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, no testimony, we'll just review the draft. You've been down the road before, so you know what we'll do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. All right. We're ready for the presentation on 15 Laurel Road. Ready for that? All right. Please come up. This is RGFA, site plan approval. Again, we typically like to have the presentation last for about 15 to 20 minutes. And you saw how it works. Well, the board will comment and our consultants and the audience.
Okay. So we didn't have a slideshow presenting, we just have some words that we can pop up.
All right.
Oh, he does? Yeah. Okay, so we actually updated the landscape plan and the site plan based on the feedback.
It's set up over there.
Okay.
That then the camera can catch it.
Okay. Okay, so. So I'm Matt Harkins, the builder for the project, and basically we started the construction of the project late last fall and came in under the 6,000 square feet limit. So at that point we weren't planning on going through the large house review. About halfway through construction, the investors decided that they wanted to finish a room above the garage, which is roughly about 300 square feet, somewhere in that vicinity. So we decided to go through the large house review process. So we started that process, and based on what we heard the board was looking for, we made some changes to the site plan and to the landscaping plan. We eliminated sort of a horseshoe driveway, made it a one-entrance driveway, put a well in for irrigation, and tried to get sort of a feeling for what the board was looking for landscaping. Sort of crafted the landscaping plan based on what we thought they would be looking for. So then we've had a couple meetings and site visits, and we further made some additional changes that was mentioned during the site walk. So that's sort of where we are at this point.
All right, so who's presenting the rest of it?
So
do engineering, who's doing the
yeah, so we had
landscaping?
the engineers here. The landscape architect was supposed to be here, but he had a family emergency, so he's not going to be able to make it.
So who's going to make that presentation?
I can make it.
All right, and who's doing the site lighting? Are you doing that?
I can do that too. Yeah.
All right, so let's do the engineering. Is the engineering a board, or is it going to come up on the screen?
Well, so I think it should come up on the screen. We've made just really a small engineering tweak based on the feedback from the.
And you've got a pointer and remote there, so you can scroll through it.
You don't want that. Trust me, you don't.
I can actually, that's okay.
Hi, I'm John Grenier. I am the civil who has done all of the engineering design on the site. We were involved at the beginning of the project. There is, and the work that we did originally was to address the new septic system that was installed and also address the drainage on the site. We did perk testing in the front yard. Here is where the septic system is located. We also dug additional test pits for drainage, obviously in the front and also at the rear portions of the site. All of the soils are all what we've classified as A soils, all sand and gravel, less than 2 minutes an inch perks, no signs of groundwater. So it is a very well drained site. To address, now as Matt stated, what threw him into the large house review was finishing over the garage. The original design that we had submitted to the engineering department had a horseshoe driveway. The driveway came in off of Laurel in the same location, but at one point we did have a horseshoe driveway. Matt requested to remove that, so that reduced the amount of impervious area associated with the driveway from the site. In order to address any runoff, the site is very flat, and where the proposed house is approximately within a foot or so of where the house that got torn down is. So we held pretty much the same grades.
Isn't that existing footprint, the former footprint?
This is a new footprint. The former footprint was pretty much, it was a slightly smaller footprint, but it was in the same location. The house is about 125 feet off of the front yard setback. So from the actual edge of pavement, it's probably about 135 feet off of the street. To be able to capture runoff from the driveway, we have some proposed dry wells located here. There is a slight pitch from the driveway towards Laurel in a easterly direction, so we're capturing runoff from the driveway in this area. Then we have a series of recharge chambers. We have a series of recharge chambers right here in the front yard. that will capture the roof runoff from the front of the house. We also have a series of recharge chambers in the southerly side of the house that will capture the runoff from the rear of the house. And with our calculations, we're reducing the amount of runoff coming off of the site up through a 100-year storm event. Since being in the large house review, it made sense for Matt to incorporate any total development of the site, so they don't have to come back yet again. So with that, they incorporated a pool and a pool house in the backyard. Any runoff from that, we have, there's a natural low spot in the site, right in this area. We're proposing another dry well to capture any sheet flow coming off of the patio from the pool house in this area. One item that is, we did modify based on, I guess, some comments from the site walk. For any of the yard flow that would sheet flow in the southerly direction from this portion of the yard, we noted and actually basically put a little fish hook to create the appearance of a swale in this area on the southerly property line, so that any small amount of runoff wouldn't be directed potentially to the neighbor over at, was it 23? At number 23 Laurel. So any of that would basically be pitching towards the southeast, and just to ensure that there is no potential runoff from this small area towards the neighbor to the south. You know, obviously you've been at the site. A lot of the site work is primarily done. Driveways in, the yard is 2-grade. So obviously you can get a good feel for it just being beyond the site plan from being out there. I think everything blends in well with on this site and with the surrounding properties. As I stated, the grades are within a foot or so of what the grades were pre-development or with the original house that was on this site.
Do you have a context plan by any chance?
Yeah, like the sections.
Well, sections.
Neighborhood context.
Neighborhood context.
It was
You had that
on
with
the
the
first
site
one.
one.
Okay, first plan?
Oh, yeah.
So,
There you go.
yeah.
I mean, just for comparison.
Yeah,
That shows the old house, right?
No, that's the new, so
That's the new house?
the new in the center with the yellow. That's the new house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that. Wrong button. You can probably speak to this better than I can.
Can I just go back to the film for a sec? Because you're right, when we went out there, the neighbor to the left was concerned about the water coming onto her newly planted area.
On this site? This
Right,
plan?
to the left.
To the
Because
left.
she had a bunch of new trees in there she didn't want flooded. And what you put in there is adequate because of when her
This is-
intention was called, your house is higher than hers and everything was going down that
So this
direction.
is the plan that we presented to you at the sidewalk. So this isn't showing that we made a small change that's shown on this new plan here.
Right,
Basically,
that's-
just showing the water draining towards the street and not towards 23.
And you agree with all that, David, right?
In theory, we might just have to tweak the contours a little bit so they're not cutting over the pines.
In this area?
Yeah.
Pull that back a little bit.
We'll probably just cut the 173 right here where you hit the existing,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe just pull this down a little bit.
Sure.
And then just keep the flow balance. So,
Okay.
so basically, so water moves out to here, but we're not really cutting around here.
Okay. The point he was making is there are, in this area, existing trees, and we are curling back the grades to show a swale, but he said if we just pull it back a little bit just so that there's no grading within the root line.
Absolutely, that makes
of any
perfect
of
sense,
those.
yeah.
Okay. Moving back to the context, just for comparison.
Is this me?
Yeah, it's whoever it is.
And you can just go through and just read the RGFAs. Give your RGFA to remind us and just kind of.
Okay, so the RGFA of the new house is with the proposed new space above the garage and with the pool house. And by the way, the pool and the pool house, we don't have any intention of actually adding in at this point, but this is a house that's for sale, and we just thought a potential buyer might be interested in doing that. So as we were going through this whole process, we thought it would be good to add that in. So with I think it's 200 or 300 square feet above the garage, and then another, say 100 or 200 feet to the pool house, the RGFA is about 6,593 square feet.
All right, and what are the others?
So the one to the left of it is 10,000. Looks like it's 10,000. Having a little trouble reading it, but 10,425. The house across the street looks like it's about 4,500. There's another one there that's about 5,500. And then there's one that's 2,400, 4,900, 3,500, 2,000, 3,300. So kind of a mixture.
The one right next door, the little Kate, what is that, 26, 28, 2808, it looks like from here?
Yeah, that's 2808, yeah. So that's sort of atypical, I would say, for the neighborhood. Most of them are relatively large homes. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks very much. Landscaping.
Yep.
That's
So I can.
on you.
Yep. You want to take that? Yeah. Can you flip to the landscape plan? Thanks. Yeah, so we've done a ton of landscaping basically, because we did take down some existing trees early in the process. So we've really done a lot of planting. How do you plant this? Top. Yeah. You just hold. Oh yeah. Okay. So here in the front, we've planted 9 London plane trees, and they're a deciduous tree, really tall. I'm not sure exactly how tall, but probably 20 feet or something like that. more than 20 feet, 30 feet. Existing size, I mean.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll get really big. So these 9 trees in the front will get really big. There's some new trees here that line the driveway. They'll also get pretty big. I think those are pear trees. We put some spruce, a cluster of spruce here, cluster of spruce here, and then some white pines here. And then we added some more deciduous trees here. I think they're red maples, I believe. And then we've done a lot of foundation plantings. One of the things that came up at the site walk was that it might be nice to put some more shrubbery here at the street line. So our latest, the latest landscaping plan shows basically a lot of shrubbery right in this area.
Do you have that plan with you?
Yep, that's right here.
So we can see what it actually is?
Yep.
Okay. Just go go across here.
What are all those trees to the left of the pool? And
right here?
And along the, are those existing?
Yeah, so these are all existing trees. These are deciduous.
And what about the cluster?
These are spruce here. So
existing again?
Existing spruce.
Those are offset.
Yeah, those are on the neighbor's property.
We talked at the sidewalk that the trees that are remaining at the back of the property that are significant will stay, and that you were actually going to move the pool house towards the street just enough to stay out of the drip edge and the roof falls and
We did.
all that good thing. So that's moved?
So we actually did incorporate that also both into the site plan, the site plan and the landscape plan. We moved the pool back.
And that's the boards you have?
That's on the boards that
so
we have.
So we can take a look at the
boards.
boards?
You can take a look, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we think we're well outside of the canopy.
Great.
It seemed like it was, even as was, it seemed like it was outside of the canopy. But we moved it back even further.
So what is the distance then between here and there?
Well, these are 20, this is 20 feet, so we're probably, from the center, we're probably, 40 or 50 feet.
What? No, I think she's talking about the hard surface to the.
Oh, the hard surface?
Yeah, this is lawn, so I don't know what.
So this is the pool here, this is a fence,
Oh, that's a
and this
fence.
is basically grass here.
Okay, all
Gra-
right.
There's
I
a small
thought
patio.
that was some kind of a,
No,
Okay.
yeah, so we think that all the heavy digging will be well outside of the canopy of
Right.
the trees. And we gave it a little bit more of a push
plus
to,
also it means that you're closer to the house where it's fenced. People don't always want to walk that far.
we were trying to preserve a little bit of a yard area, you
Yeah,
know, in
well,
case.
lawn.
Yeah. So we did hear
Yeah.
that feedback, and
Great.
we did pull the pool, and, you know, the pool components further away from.
Yep. Also, you guys have, I think per the electrical company, the meter right on the street, is that what I remember seeing?
Yes.
When we were there?
Yeah, there's a meter somewhere right about here.
Yeah, and you're stuck with that?
I'm sorry?
You're stuck with that? That's what they told you, that's where they said to put it.
Well, they didn't tell us to put it there, that's where we chose to put it, but we've put up some big rhododendrons to, you know, to block it.
I don't know how normally it's resolved.
Well,
Since dark.
yeah, but I mean, we do try to not have the thing right on the street if we possibly can, but.
They like to not get on with cars. So what's the total lumenage?
The total lumenage is just under 2,100 square feet.
Square feet?
It's on that one.
You're definitely in the square footage.
21,000 lumens. A big chunk of that was actually the pool light, which was I think like 6,000 lumens.
Yeah.
So there's a number of exterior, I should have the cut sheets too.
Wait a second, you did
You
small
talked
pool light.
about that when we were there, there are smaller ones out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's like shark hunting.
Oh, you think so, really? We had heard some initial feedback that they were pretty large, and so I
Yeah.
asked my landscape architect to
Yeah.
find one, and it would be great if we could get a smaller one, actually.
Well,
No.
we have some history with that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imai might be able to.
Because we would actually like to put like a post light or something, but we're right up against it
Right,
now.
yeah, so it'd be better, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, less,
And again, the pool may not even go in.
right,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
but so we have a number of.
But you don't have to go to 6,000 lumens, you really don't. I mean, there are lights that do a perfectly adequate job, they're much less bright than that, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Ask those guys, they know, they specialize. The
And-
melody savvy ones, right?
And-
What's that?
The melody savvy ones, right? Isn't that what they're called?
Well, there's the LEDs that, the lumens are really low,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to
and
have
they do
a clean
a
light
great
back
job
there.
of illuminating.
Right. You could see 6,000 lumens from space.
Okay. Yeah, it's a clean light.
Yeah.
Right up the moon. And AC, condensers, generator, everything is
shoot,
located
how do I
where,
get
and how's the
back,
noise and everything?
Sound enclosure?
So we have two condensers right here, a future generator right there as well, and then another condenser right here.
Is that right next to their deck? To the deck of the house?
No.
No, we have a second one.
Deck outside the garage.
Oh, no, well, this is a little deck, a little patio right here, but a more substantial patio is a covered patio right here.
Okay.
So it's essentially, these are located right behind the garage.
So we're okay on the noise propagation, Imai?
So, the noise propagation, we talked about this, right, the 40 decibel limit you're gonna have, and you're gonna provide the specs on it.
Right.
Yeah,
And you said, I think there was a discussion that it would ultimately be tested, like someone would test it with a phone or something like that. So,
Yeah, when we go out there, we test it with the phone, and then you put up sound enclosures. But the spec from it should be, you should be able to calc from the spec of what you put in.
Okay. There's quite a bit of distance on either side of the house to the neighbors, property lines, so.
Right, but often it'll bang off the house itself and, just check it out.
Okay.
Make everybody happy.
Yep.
No generator?
Well, there's a few, no generator, but we have run a line for a future generator. If someone wanted to add that in, we're not adding it in at this point, but that would be located right next to the condensers behind the garage.
So that'd be a gas line, you say?
The gas line, yeah.
So that's,
Okay. Irrigation?
Yep, so we have irrigation throughout the property, and we installed a well for that irrigation.
It all seems a little damp over little squishy. I'm just gonna think everybody's running those sprinklers a lot.
It's really perky soil, actually. It's
So if it's squishy.
It's squishy, your first squishy, right?
If it's
I love that.
squishy, it must be perky.
It must be perky. Very perky. Okay.
Okay, site lighting.
site lighting. So
Wait a minute, just the individual lights, where are they again?
for the on the house and so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 lanterns basically on either side of the front door, 2 recessed lights here, 1 more wall lantern here, 3 recessed under each of or above each of the garage car doors. We have another wall lantern here on the man door into the garage. 1 more wall lantern here outside of another rear entry door. We have 4 recessed lights here under the covered patio. 2 recessed lights here, which is basically an exterior stairway from the basement. And then we have a wall lantern next to one of the doors for the proposed pool house, and then another wall lantern next to the other door to the proposed pool house.
If you can get some lumens out of that pool, that would be great, because you're probably gonna have a walkway between the house
Yeah.
and the pool, and there are gonna be a couple of
You're
lights
gonna
on
need
that.
the extra lighting at some point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we could really use, some kind of, we were right up, we were basically at 21,000 something, so
Yeah.
we don't have any other landscaping lighting, but we could really use like a post light.
And the wall lanterns are down, shielded, dark sky.
Dark sky,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I have the cut sheets here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
Dave, considering, like what we're looking at with 31 Knobscot, expanding the patio, should we include that condition of calculation, give some overage in the calculation, double the patio size?
I think they got the pool, they got the 3-season room, the patio, and the pool,
So it's good enough?
you know?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so if someone said, I don't want the pool, but I want a bigger patio, we can figure that out
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Okay.
And if someone says, I want the pool and a bigger porch, then
And come back.
they
Come
come
back.
back.
Okay.
You know, and that seems like a lot of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not that we wouldn't approve it or anything, but
Yeah.
that just seems somewhat unlikely.
Right. Okay. Landscaping,
Yeah.
it's what it is, right? And I guess, the only change on the engineering is that runoff to the neighbor on the lower part of this drawing, which I think you just saw that this evening.
Our comments, we just addressed,
Okay.
if that makes sense to you. I should probably use 2 colors.
And
but
the
I can
new
go-
plan which shows the shrubs underneath, you saw that just now, too, right?
They're all there. It's inkberry, dogwoods, and viburnums.
Yeah.
A few roadies, I think, too.
And rhododendrons,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty thick.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. My burn is always good, though, too.
I love my roadies.
They're a little more natural,
Yeah.
it's less poofy.
Okay. Good. Then in that case, are there any comments from the audience? No comments? All right. Then we will schedule the review of the decision for what date?
20th as well.
Another busy evening.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll look at the decision.
Everyone's running up the door.
We'll look at the decision on the 20th, the draft decision, and issue that, and that'll be the end of that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
All right, next, we're talking about 31 Knobscot Road, adding a patio and a sunroof. I guess we need the lights for this one.
Want to talk to engineering first?
Yeah,
You want to talk to site engineering
Oh, you want to
first?
grab this?
Yeah, it's just that if it's a board,
Oh, this is
camera
good.
can't see it.
It's up there.
Okay.
I can rest it out for you.
Oh, I have it up.
Oh, yeah.
Did you try to read for that?
Yeah,
So,
Nice going.
This is,
yeah,
We can project this.
okay, so this is adding a patio and a sunroom
Yes,
to a house that we've already reviewed.
yes. This is an addition.
And who are you?
Michael Wasser with Gregory Lombardi Design.
Okay.
We're landscape architects in this project. So this is a addition of a sunroom patio on the back side of the existing RGFA house, 31 Knobs. We're also adding additional patio space to the back side of the house, and a small guest parking area and revised sidewalk alignment, in addition to new plantings for the park. This is the site engineering plan, which Bill Doyle can speak to, and we'll go in the order that you prefer to go in.
Typically, we do engineering,
Yeah.
landscape, light, which would include lighting.
Right. And then the architecture.
Architecture.
Yep, so I'll have Bill talk to the site engineering of the project.
Great, thank you.
Hello, everyone. So this actually is a survey of the property. This is from Snelling and Hamel, and what it's showing is the addition in this area here. What you kind of see underneath this is the existing patio. Comes basically the black line, and the red area is the proposed addition. It's about 78 feet in from the north and the left property line, and 123 feet from the rear property line. The proposed design, this doesn't come out all too great here, but what we have, the existing condition, actually let me go back to this. So the existing condition, you can see the house is actually kind of up on a hill. It was built up, so the high point is here at about elevation 304, and then it slopes to the back corner here, and it slopes to the front corner here, both low points on the property. And runoff basically follows those patterns. The back half kind of goes that way, and the front half kind of comes this way. The current design, this doesn't show up too well here, is again the addition off the rear of the house. We have what you see in kind of this shaded area is not so much a uniform squared off patio, but patio blocks or patio pavers that surround the new addition. Slightly larger square footage than what was around it, in Snelling and Hamel's original kind of survey of the property. There'll be kind of a new front walkway, similar bluestone patio pavers to they're out back. We're going to put out front, connecting to the driveway here. What doesn't show up so well here is there's a turnaround, an existing turnaround here to back out of the garage, turn that way and come this way. That goes away and essentially gets put here. So you have kind of a turning parking spaces that happen here, so you can get that turnaround here. The driveway width is the same as it has always been. The proposed drainage essentially picks up. There's a couple of area drains in the back here that pick up the new patio paver space, and then there's a couple of roof leaders that pick up the new roof area, directed into a dry well in the rear of the property. We added a trench drain here to pick up runoff that would come from kind of the first half of this area, basically the new paving here and some of the patio walkway pavers here. It would pick that up in this trench drain and infiltrate it, simply infiltrate here and infiltrate in the rear. The depth of the groundwater is about 8 feet below grade. Really gravelly sandy soils underlying the whole property. So we're expecting a pretty fast infiltration rate. We submitted the drainage calculations and everything that goes with it. You guys got a chance to review.
Okay, great, thank you. And next, landscaping?
Yep. Again, Michael Wasser with Gregory Lombardi Design. Move to the landscape plan. So the existing drive comes in here. We have the guest parking and a slight adjustment to the alignment of the existing back out the driveway. We don't have the hammerhead here anymore. The front walkway is realigned and changed. We have a slightly larger landing at the front entrance, expanded plant beds along the front of the house. In the back, there's a walkway that comes here and then turns at 90 degrees and goes to the back patio. We have an outdoor kitchen, expanded patio space. This is a 475 square foot screened porch addition and additional patio space on this side. As far as planting is concerned, you can see that there's plant beds against the foundation, both front and back. We're adding dogwood tree here, here, 10 to 12 foot spruce along this area to help screen from the neighbor that's over here. These existing pine trees, these are existing pine trees. And this is all existing woodland along here. We're adding 3 more dogwood trees here. And we're also adding some rhododendrons and a dogwood to help screen this neighbor. As you can see through underneath the trees, you can see this person's house. And the sidewalk, there were about 8 trees that were taken down that died due to the development of the site. Those had been removed. And at the sidewalk, it was discussed and we agreed to add 8 more trees back into the property, which we've done, white oak and red maple, 8 trees here. And then an understory planting to eventually help screen from Knobscott Road to the house of viburnums and rhododendrons. The existing lawn area remains, and this large existing lawn area remains back here. So that's essentially the landscape plan and the overall site plan we're proposing. All the walks and the patios will be bluestone. And lighting. Here's the lighting. The total lumens that we're proposing for the site is a little over 8,000. We have path lights, one here, one here, one here, one here. There's existing pendant light that is under the front covered porch here, and another one here. There are path lights here and here, and these black dots you can see are path lights. And then at the back doors, we're adding there's sconces at the back door here, and then of course on the doors to the screen porch, there's one on the west side and one on the east side. They will also have sconces.
And the lights inside the screen porch, they're down recessed, I believe?
They're down pendants. At the front door, at both the front doors, yeah.
You mean inside
the
new screen porch?
Because it's all going to be glass and screen, right?
Oh, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So there is one pendant, and we discussed that it would stay, it would be a reasonable size so as not to sort of over illuminate the exterior of the screen porch.
Yeah, there's recessed lights in the porch.
And then there'll be uplights. There are some
So you get
collar
some
ties.
nice cove lighting.
Exactly. It's going to be sort of like a reflective light.
Nice. Yep, nice.
So again, our total lumens, exterior landscape lighting in house, a little over 8,000.
That's 8,000 lumens you're adding to the existing lighting.
No, it's total 8,000 lumens for the property.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
It's also there round mulch circles where there used to be trees.
Yeah, so the trees that were taken out here and taken out here, we'll site the new trees, and of course those mulch circles will get grassed over, or we'll place the new trees in the same location, but.
To basically add to the screening, like the old locations were supposed to.
Right, that's right.
And the size of the trees that are going back?
3 to 3.5 inch caliber trees.
And are they going to be the same kind?
Pardon?
Are they going to be the same kind that died off? that were
Well,
really improved?
we
or-
have saturated soils down there because, and we think that's one of the reasons that those trees died is because of the fill.
Mhm.
And so we wanted to put trees in that we thought could handle wet feet. So swamp white oak and red maple. And red maple.
Okay.
Who was on the sidewalk?
Me.
You guys?
Kim and Jane.
Yeah.
This is such a barren property, and they've really done a nice job, I think. Vast improvements, they're not gonna see the riprap ditch between the store.
Yeah, there's
It's just
It's
about-
a large
a riprap wall right
Yeah.
here.
And the soils, they look like the soils are terrible there, and I know,
Yeah.
that. It's very nice, actually.
Good, okay. Thank you. Is that?
That's it for landscape and lighting. So we go to architecture.
Architecture, sure.
So I'm Laura Burns from Adams and Beasley, we're the architect and builder for the project. So per your request, we include the existing conditions of the house, but this is the addition off the back there. As Michael said, it's about 475 square feet. It will be a screen porch, and we have a gas fireplace that will be installed at the end with 2 steps down to each side of the patio. It's very simple. The the thermal perimeter of the house is being maintained in the bay, and the exterior will be a 3-season room. You can see the existing elevations are here, and then this is the back side of the house. You see the house, the screen porch and elevation there. And then this is the side elevation showing the screens with the clear story lights at the top. A metal roof. It's pretty simple in keeping with the style of the house.
Right.
There is a rendering to give you a sense of the style.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from the board?
I have 2 emails from the abutters approving with their support of the project.
All right.
So should I put those on the record?
Sure.
Yes.
It's 23 and 39, Scott.
Okay, so we have one from Lynn Hewer and Jeffrey Hewer. Hi, Doug and Kendra, what an amazing project. Your plans are fantastic and your property is going to be so beautiful. We are excited to see it all roll out. Don't worry about the trucks. We have grown quite used to them with the landscaping project going on across the street from us, which is another gorgeous property. Not a problem. Our daughter Annie will start driving in August, so we're planning on changing the layout of our property this spring to accommodate a 4th car. Good luck with the planning board, you have our support. And this one is from, I don't know the name, but the address, it's JVA H. Rosen.
Gina.
Okay, thank you. Dear Doug, thank you for being in touch about this. Looks like you're going to do a beautiful job over there with your landscaping. We'll be supportive. I'm always in favor of more trees. Claudia looks forward to doing some babysitting for you and the Gilmans.
Okay, great.
So we know what's going on in the neighborhood families.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a nice neighborhood. Friendly neighborhood.
Big improvement.
Any other comments from the board?
No.
No. Kim, what do you think? It's good? Engineering, okay, it's simple, all right. In that case, we will, is this also gonna be?
This is going to be the 20th, yeah.
Oh, great.
Is there a way we can speed that up?
I mean, unless you want to do this with a memo.
Yeah, I mean, is there parliamentary procedure only because?
We could actually do this with a memo, I think.
Just head out a memo and we'll run it out and.
Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be
Oh,
pretty cut
very
and dry.
straightforward, yeah.
All right, let's do that over the memo.
Okay.
That way they're not starting
That's
construction.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And so that would be released, the memo
Next week.
next week,
Yeah.
and then a building permit could be pulled
Pretty much right after.
right after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
amendment to
Fantastic.
Seal 30.
So you can actually enjoy the summer, right?
Pardon me?
They can actually enjoy it over the summer.
We
The
hope.
end of fall.
Another season up.
You'll have Thanksgiving.
It's 2 years in the making.
Ah, okay.
So, that's fantastic, thank you.
All right, good, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right.
All right, let's go.
Next, we're talking about 13 Pigeon Hill.
Right in
Anywhere.
front. Front row. Does that mean the dog's in the car?
Yeah, he's not too far.
Not too far.
Okay, is there anything you have, Jay, that's not going to show on the screen?
Yes, well, we updated the plan from yesterday.
You did?
Great.
Okay, so you need the easel.
Yeah.
Why don't you set up where the camera
Okay.
can look at
Yeah.
it?
Can I say something to start? Because I really feel like I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. You met me yesterday, I was very emotional. I'm gonna try not to be emotional tonight,
Okay?
and I'll keep it short. But it's been a nightmare since I moved into this house. And I just want you to understand that I appreciate all the time, because now I understand all the rules and the regulations, and I understand that you take your free time to do this, and I also understand that there are rules. But to make a long story short, we've been lied to, we've been taken to cleaners with a lot of money, and it's been a nightmare. And I just want to state that I think, and I'm here because I want to be part of it, but I'm also really sick of it. And I think that maybe you can take that in consideration if you look at the plans and realize that we never meant to break any rules. I just wanted a safe backyard. And my kids are actually always in the backyard since we did that. So it's been, in that sense, worth it. But it's a negative time. And it's been a long time. And we had many, many gas leaks around our house, which was also not told to us when we moved in. So it's not just been this, it's been everything. And I thank you for letting me say that, because I'm never in front of you.
Let's fill in the background a little bit. What happened was that based on assurances that you had from others, you didn't realize that you had to come to the planning board to review proposed changes before you made them to the site.
Basically, that's what happened.
That you were told that you could do whatever you wanted.
Literally, I have it in emails, I have it like,
Yeah.
I literally said, if I move to this house, I love the house, I want my kids in the backyard.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sent my kids to the Waldorf school
Right.
next year, which is a technology-free school. I am so set to bring them in nature.
So you didn't want to actually do anything that
No,
that would
no,
that
I
had
know.
bad
No.
consequences. It's just that you were going by misinformation.
Yeah,
Are these the
that's-
lies you're referring to?
Oh, it's been,
From-
it's been basically,
From
it's
realtors
a
or from
spider
who?
web of lies. It starts with the realtors, then you
You
hire
had
lawyers.
advisors that told
Lawyers you hire. I was in Amsterdam at the time, I sold the house one time, we loved it, we knew we wanted to live where our best friends live down the road. You know, my kids are their best friends, they are always in the backyard. The lawyer said literally, oh, I researched it. But last week, I asked Jay for this document that I never got, so
Wow.
I mean, you,
And you paid for the due
I
diligence.
paid everything,
Yeah.
and more, and more, and more. It's like it's coming out
So-
of my reserve now, which is on top of, it's mostly the negative energy that feels now.
Yeah. So
I
the-
kind of don't want to be there anymore at this point. You know?
Well,
Now, I understand
I
that.
do understand.
Let's see if
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
get you to a
it's-
happy
You know,
place
the
again.
builder also died. Sorry, but I called him. I get this crazy voice like he committed suicide. So it's been a nightmare.
Yes.
No, I think
He had a heart
he had a heart attack.
Yes,
But someone told me on the phone when I called his mobile and I was trying to figure all this out. You know, he committed suicide. Okay, great. So there was another, like, it's been this, so like I said for jokes, but I'm serious. I need to clean this land because it's, something is up. Like, it's just never ending. So I'm hoping to.
Well, what we're gonna try to do,
Up.
what we're gonna try to do is, you know, get over the finish line.
Thank you. And I
No,
do really appreciate your time because I realize now
Yeah.
what it takes from you.
So we're,
Thank you.
and we don't want to do anything draconian, we recognize what happened, you know, and
Thank
so
you.
let's see if we can just
Yes.
do it the easiest way and then
Yes.
move on.
Thank you.
Great. So Jay, what is the revised plan?
So this is just a cleanup
Put the light
version.
back on, or?
Yeah, I think we probably
Put the
should
light
put the
back
light
on?
on.
Probably.
Yes. The camera can't see that.
No, I can't help it. Get binoculars.
I'll put glasses for you.
Yeah, it worked very nice.
When you start out, just explain
Sure.
what's done and then
Right.
yeah.
So what we're here for tonight is, you have the existing house, you have Pigeon Hill Road, you have Hilltop on the upper side where the actual driveway comes off for the main house. Existing garage that comes off Pigeon Hill. What was done was, when this house was originally bought by Amy, this area had a gentle slope for where the septic is, and when it came down here, it was a pretty steep slope. It was rocky, it had a lot of stones, that kind of stuff in it. Her idea was basically she wanted to create an area for kids to play on. So at the time when they broke the house, they were literally playing in the driveway all the time, right adjacent to Hilltop. So she had asked the landscaper contractor to install a wall conforming, so 3 feet above existing grade, along the edge to flatten this area out so she could then have a flat area for the kids to play on. So when they did that, they added a little bit of fill, and then the wall came along this section here, and then a set of stairs coming down through that side over there. At that time, I think Eli was, somebody had told you that how this had happened. I don't know how you guys were made aware of this. You guys contacted me to make me aware of it, so.
Yeah.
So then the town became aware of the wall, that it didn't get a permit to be installed, and then that's kind of how this process has started. So since the sidewalk yesterday, what we did is we cleared the proposed plantings along the front side of the wall. And then we talked about, we originally were showing 3 trees that we removed, the white pine and then 2 trees on this side. So we decided to not take any of these trees down and actually had McDowell put together a tree well design to save all those trees, except for the white pine, which is basically dead right now. I did do research, I sent it, I forgot to bring a copy with me. Of the
That's the most important.
and of the tree.
Oh, the ginkgo.
Yeah, the ginkgo, which there was on the original approval from the design.
It was a ginkgo.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but it was a ginkgo. It's in.
It's in.
Jay, are you going to show them the proof that I did not fill that area?
Oh, I would, well, you have that too.
Because that's.
Yeah. And so, and as I mentioned on the sidewalk, there is a septic design, which I have a copy of the plan view section where prior to Jeffrey buying the property, you can see where the septic is, you can see the grading down here, and you can see, they located a couple of the trees, and you can see the grading going down through those trees. So they've definitely been filled against for several years. What we want to do is try to get down to the section of the
Flare.
trees, the flare, so we can get them, expose them and make them, hopefully thrive once again. The idea is that right now we're not showing a proposed tree here because we wanted to talk about what could go there for tonight. I know we had talked about a specimen tree yesterday, but we wanted to see if we could try to get something a little bit smaller than that to kind of be the replacement for that white pine. And I think we all agreed that it needs to be some kind of conifer to replace that. I don't know if there's a specific version that you would like, whether you prefer a Kim or Norway spruce or something like that. It doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, not time.
I remember that from yesterday.
I love mine.
Are you still planning to put the landscaping down on the lower part of the wall?
Right now, we removed it.
Okay.
And we haven't decided what we're going to put down there or if we're going to put anything down there.
I think with the sidewalk, we talked about because of the height of the wall and what you're going to see. I mean, if you want to do something, you'll obviously do it, but there's no reason for it from a screening point of view. I think that's what was more or less said.
Right.
Also, is Dave coming back about the drainage, or?
No,
No,
Dave left.
There's no real
Um,
effect on the drainage.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I did ask him your
You
question.
did ask a question.
What was
Well,
the question?
The question was, I didn't see any drainage or swell. There's a lot of water coming down this way, and I wasn't sure if that had been addressed when they built the wall. And this is something I didn't think about till after the site plan, after the site walk. And there had been comments from the neighbors
Yeah.
that there had been more water, so I guess
They
also,
I think they called the
Yeah.
town, and I feel very uncomfortable about it, but that's between us, because they could have come to me. They've had water problems for years. I know from my best friends that live right next door to them, so I don't think our situation made it worse, but in any case, I'll do whatever needs to be done here to prevent more water, but doesn't the retaining wall keep the water from going to them?
what, okay, I'm not a
It's
civil
kind of
engineer,
funny.
but I mean, often what happens is the water will go down the slope and just dribble down the wall and continue. It's usually fixed, in my experience, by digging out, about a foot of soil and putting in some gravel so the water will go in there and then percolate into your soil rather than continue on. But I'm not the one to do it. You need somebody else. It's usually a fairly simple fix.
It is, but in this case, I don't think it's needed because
I'm gonna look to the expert.
yeah.
Yeah.
What we have is
Didn't the
by
expert-
then flatten out the slope, it actually it will reduce the runoff going to
Yeah.
the property. Not by a significant amount because it's a small area that we actually reduce the slope on. When this was originally permitted, Metro West had done the design and they did a full drainage analysis and did the whole drainage system on this. The house downgrading from us, we had done some work on that house for the small additions that they put on there. Bill Murphy had done a design, a simple design. I don't know if when you drive down through there, you see it sticking out of the ground. It's about 4 or 5 feet out of the ground. So that walkout there, that basement is extremely close to the ground table, if not in the ground table. So they have major water issues right off the bat.
So, I mean, if someone has done an analysis of the property, saying everything's being retained on site, then it's done.
Yeah.
If there is such an analysis, then you should be covered.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
original analysis for the project was done by Metro West. This amount of change to this grading actually reduces the runoff.
Okay.
It's going to reduce the slope.
Okay, that's what I was hoping, and I think so too. Because when it's actually, it doesn't really go over the wall, the water, because the dirt doesn't.
You're saying
stay.
it goes up,
Yeah, it's sort
the
of.
wall is slightly higher than everything
Yes,
else.
at the
So-
moment when it rains, I
Yeah.
sometimes
So
look,
you get
because I know
ponding.
once that you have no problems clearly, so, I check it. I also put for now I don't know how you call that, what's that thing called, the
Erosion control or?
the hay thing?
Oh,
Oh,
the
you
mulch.
got a silt set.
Yeah, still said, yeah.
It doesn't look like it's taking a lot of water since I put it there.
There was the time when we went on site, when it was first found out that this work was done. Ema had asked that she had, that Amy put down an actual erosion control barrier, because there was no kind of vegetation on that slope at all. Since then, it's grown in, so it's now it's all solidified.
So what size tree are you proposing?
So that's what I was hoping to discuss tonight, that we were hoping to do something in the 12 to 14 range, instead of being more up as a specimen tree.
Well, I know cost is an issue, right?
Right.
So there are certain species that are cheaper than others. You can get pretty large trees for the price of a smaller one in a different rare species. I mean, I can.
Norway spruce.
Yeah, Norway spruce, you can pretty big ones for
But-
trees and grass.
One thing that you have to also remember, it's a fairly decent slope, and I don't think you're gonna get there from Pigeon Hill, so you're gonna have to come down through the gate we had, and it'd be nicer if it could be done on something manual, like
So
a.
it survives, you mean?
No, I'm talking about how to access the spot.
How to
with
actually
a-
get it
with a
over
big,
to the.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, you're gonna.
so it'd be nicer,
That's why I
have something that isn't too large.
And the hemlocks, is hemlock?
Hemlock Grove is not the final one, it's if you have a big root ball and you gotta get it down the bottom of the slope.
The stairs.
Right, but it's still going down the slope, and do you want a bobcat going down there?
Yes, we'd have to go.
I'm trying to
there's
avoid
a
getting a
double
bobcat
gate
down.
down that slope.
Carport?
Car
It has
port?
double doors also.
Oh, so maybe I'm wrong, maybe there is a way in the back there.
The doors from
Okay.
adjacent,
And what's, you could get a good size, Norway.
there's a double book near the carport, so they could go over.
Yeah, they're here, but then when what
Maybe you
happens is then you have to get.
And then it's go up. Yeah, it's better to come in and bring it down.
So what size? And what is it? The Norway spruce? And what size? They're not very, they're less expensive than others, so.
Are Norwood spruce have soft needles? I don't remember. Was something with a soft needle you can come up with?
Yeah,
Did you get-
yeah, evergreen, they're all,
Some are really prickly.
yeah. And I think a Norway spruce is sort of the thing.
What did you say? 14? That means, well, because of the stick, it's 14 to 16.
Does that seem right?
She's looking at the prices.
Thank you very much for having that. Was that nice?
No, and here's Brown Street Farmers, I have no idea where they are, but a 14 to 16 for is $255, so you should. I don't know, but you know, that might be in the middle
If
of
that's the truth.
Wyoming, so you should be, they're
That's
not
a
very
lot of
expensive.
zeros.
We're talking
They're
about
not
hundreds of
terribly
dollars, not
expensive.
thousands.
Yeah, not thousands.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
24 foot, we'll say.
Yeah, look at, that's what the 24, oh, they don't quite have.
If you get them too big, then they're cranky
just
about
kidding.
doing
He's
it.
joking.
And they may not
It's
survive.
a
Right,
weird
that's
sense
why-
of humor.
That's why you want something, bigger, yeah, not too big.
Yeah.
You might get a nice bite.
Norway spruce, what size?
12, 14 feet is what I heard.
No, 14 to 14 to 16.
Yeah, going twice.
So you should be able to find.
Somebody tell me
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
14 to 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
16.
so we're gonna do the tree wells and one Norway spruce 14 to 16.
The gate is already there.
You can get your sage and then
Gate
put
goes
the,
back to the fence.
thank you.
No, the gate told us there's nothing,
That's
actually.
it.
Really?
That's it.
Even though it's,
No more.
No, it's not.
Go
It was
burn
put in.
sage,
Okay.
like to be
So that's
good.
best to be treated in.
Don't forget.
Yeah, we don't have to-
Come back.
Right.
You know,
Don't worry.
Come back and see us
It's
sometime.
spotted anyway, it was over on the side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good, for the
And
first
now,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
I
that
can
was good
see.
to find
Yeah,
out.
that was-
Somebody paid
Why we
attention.
scratched our
Right.
heads, yeah.
How nice is that?
Hey, it's all good.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and so the tree well,
Well,
we'll
we
just
hope
keep
it's
with our
the
standard
end.
replacement policy, right?
Sorry.
For the trees in the tree well, regular size. Okay.
It's been a very emotional time, but I really appreciate it all.
Sorry.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Take care.
see you too.
I hadn't called you, because I was thinking about it when I walked away, and you told me you'd be back on.
Who's next, Kim?
I felt the engineer, I don't know where to go. It's not there, it's not, if not, I don't think it's really, it's really slow, it's easy, or it's just right, that's it, it's a wardrobe.
Okay, next we're talking about a request on Two Fields Pond Road to amend the irrigation condition on the decision. And, Imai, what I would like to do is sort of, you know the background of this, and we don't.
Yep.
So could you sort of give us the background and your analysis of what the issues are?
So you're all familiar with Two Fields Pond Road. We permitted this not long ago, right here. This is the email he sent me. I don't know the date, I'm sorry, but this is roughly about 2 weeks ago, asking to revise the irrigation condition so that he could use town water for irrigation. As I gleaned this out, you know, the basis he's requesting is basically these three things. Planning board has allowed other new construction builders in town to access town water for irrigation. No guarantee that this parcel will successfully produce water, and is not aware that it was an arbitrary decision. So, kind of talking about those three things here. You know, my first one is just going to go through them as they are. You know, other new construction builders in town to access town water for irrigation. Greg did give me, he's two builders who had not had to have their irrigation condition. One was Jonathan Buckman. His earlier permits did indeed not have it. One's in 2015, which was the last ones he did. One didn't have it to avoid, because the fellows felt the site disturbance would be too great to put in a well, and the other permit did have it. So nonetheless, with that, conditions are generated both for the site and for the time in which they exist. There was a time when you probably wouldn't have seen as much traffic studies on projects because there wasn't as much traffic. Now we have them as basically de rigueur. So, the thought on this really to me is that this condition was put in at the time for this site. The other sites, it may or may not have gone in. If there's a similar site at a similar time with the similar concerns after we have, gone through the drought 2 years ago, then, then make that argument. But simply having not enforced it at one time does not negate it here on this particular site. You folks did review that issue in the decision. It was brought up and found that this parcel does, it warranted this condition. No guarantee that this parcel will successfully produce water. That's not the same as saying that it is technically infeasible to put a well on this parcel, that it's not going to produce water, or that other irrigation methods or reducing the water needs for the lawn are infeasible. So that does not, to me, justify removing this just because it's not, there's no guarantee. But you need to get a lot more technical depth and study to really make that claim that it cannot produce. And look at the other options that you have. And then lastly, it's an arbitrary decision. I did run this request by town council, and she gave me a few quick answers. But for this and an arbitrary decision, basically, kind of that question is, can the board enforce this condition? So this is what she responded. It is my understanding that the condition was imposed for irrigation to be provided through a well as opposed to connection to town water. As an unappealed condition, it would be my opinion that the applicant's ability to challenge the condition as outside the scope of the site plan review standards and criteria has been waived. However, it is my opinion that the condition could be defended as falling within the scope of review criteria that requires developments to minimize demands placed on town services and infrastructure to the extent feasible. So basically, kind of my conclusion is this basically, the board acting within its authority under section 11 impose the condition prohibiting the use of MWA water for irrigation in consideration of this site and the current water usage situation in Weston. The applicant provide a detailed technical evaluation of the site showing that a well is infeasible and that no other irrigation alternative exists, then the board can review and consider the request.
That's it. All right, thank you. So you're requesting that we rescind a condition in our decision. Modify in what way? Rescind. And what EMI is recommending is that the only grounds that we should reasonably consider would be those of feasibility.
Well, I don't think that's accurate. You're stating that based on the opinion of town council, which I had already gone to seal, and he's got a determination that says that there's a 50-50 chance of water. You've made arbitrary allocations in the past, people, in terms of being able to let them not do it. And there are others that I've talked to about that which haven't really been here.
I can't hear a word you're saying. Could you just speak a little louder, please?
That's a problem in the past, speaking out, so I have to be very, very cautious of that.
Yeah, but a little louder so that at least we can hear it from 10 feet away.
What I just said was, from the perspective of being, there are other builders that I gave him as examples that he knows in terms that have not had. It's an arbitrary allocation decision that you guys are making in terms of the process.
This is a standard decision. that we have found is applicable to your particular site?
And I'm asking you, as you have in the past, to waive that.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that there is a 50% probability that they're there. In addition to that, I'm one of the very few groups that have come in terms of housing that does housing underneath the size limitations that you guys want. You look back, I didn't go for it. I didn't do anything. If you guys have the ability to be able to have an arbitrary, allocation of things, I'm sure that you will make that decision. I'm asking for some consideration. It's not that hard. I've done things with good heart. I may have gone against, some of the positions and intuition that you guys have had. But I've never done it with violence. I've done it in a heartfelt way. You guys, you won on the initial decision. That was, congratulations. I still believe, hard and fastly that, my position is right, but, others clearly don't. So I guess when I look at it from a position, I'm here, I'm not here, begging or pleading or anything like that. I'm asking, when you take a look at the process, you look at somebody who has 25 years, who has built a house that's smaller, you have in the past an arbitrary, not arbitrary, waived this right. In this particular case, building a smaller home, not building a McMansion, as you call it, but there should be some consideration. This is a very expensive, proposition. It's a $20,000, line item. I'm even prepared to consider paying for that, the guy that I bought the property from, and the whole reason why I came and initiated the Article 20, process, as you guys know. So, it's not an issue. This is not a coming back. I'm not getting down on a knee or anything like that. I'm not looking for reparation or anything like that for losing a battle with you guys. You guys won fair and square.
What did we win fair and square? You said we won on the decision.
Article 20.
You're bringing that up in this tonight? Is this
No,
about Article 20? I thought this was about a well and irrigation and a special site plan.
The town's water conservation policy?
Right.
Or,
I wasn't bringing it up to be contentious.
No, I know, but I'm just kind of, just suddenly the whole scope became different. But anyway, okay.
I think for us to seriously consider rescinding our decision, we need something factual from you that says that you couldn't actually do it. Not that there's a chance you couldn't do it, but that you couldn't actually physically do it.
You know what that requires. It requires, the only way you can do that is drill. That's the only way that you can get the factual. When Skillings does this anecdotal data, they do perimeter points in terms of perimeter points in terms of previous drills, what they have done, what they've incurred. And based on that, they can very often say there's 100% probability. Yes, they are not able to do that. He said, you're probably 50-50.
So he did do the perimeter points, or he did not do the perimeter
No,
points?
he studied the perimeter points, so we went and took a look, and the analysis was that there is a 50% probability. All you do is go and look at the maps and see where they've drilled in the past, and there's not enough anecdotal evidence in that particular area apparently to do it. I didn't go and sit and go through the process of it, but that was the evidence.
Do you have anything on a piece of paper?
Sure, I can get him to write something.
You can get him to write something.
So we don't know. I mean, are there any, could you perhaps consult another well expert?
I'm
It
looking,
doesn't seem
I'm
that
looking.
odds either to me.
It's better than the lottery.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how many times.
Also, I question the $20,000 figure. We priced a well out in our house and it was under 10. It was under 10 for the well.
But I can show you what it costs. Right now, it's $14,000 for the first 400 feet. It doesn't look like there's anything to be able to get in the first 400 feet, so they think they're going, beyond that. So I don't know how much. I'm telling you what I got. I'll show you the exact quote.
Even if it's 20, the payback's under 5 years.
Also, we don't require irrigation on lawns, and I'm not.
Well, I was intimidated by you guys on the board. And so I thought the only way I could get through the process was to be able to acquiesce to your demands.
Well, we're
So-
not gonna make you have an irrigation system. You don't have to put an irrigation system at all.
Oh, no, yeah, of course you do on a property where, you're trying to sell, to a high-end user, of course you do.
You just don't strike me as the kind of guy that's intimidated by anybody.
Right.
Well, listen, to get through a process, intimidation can be done in a bunch of different ways now, you know that perfectly well.
How do we intimidate?
Oh, look, listen, your reputation precedes you guys. I mean, you're the most notorious board in town, and I don't mean to say that in a negative way, but, you're the most disliked, board in town. And I say that in one person's opinion, but you ask anybody, you'll.
Ask anybody.
Well, no, you're a very challenging board, and so I think the reputation precedes you guys. And so when you come in, it's easy to be able to understand how someone says, get through the process, just get through the process, accept what they want, go through the process. And so I think that's an easy thing to do.
Back to the original point though, not every house is sold with a lawn irrigation system. They aren't. And if that's how you have to sell a high-end house, then I think you can build the cost of the well and the irrigation system into your price. I mean, is that how you work?
The point is, I'm building an affordable house on a relative basis, about as affordable as you can get in Weston, given the pricing.
Okay, well then, there you go. It's an affordable house. It's not necessarily a big high-end house. So the people who buy an
Affordable is still
affordable house.
$2.4 million.
Oh, okay, I'm really confused here, because that doesn't sound affordable at 2.4 million.
When you're buying the land, and the majority of the new homes that are being built here today, as you know, are all $3 million plus homes. You talk to
Then
anyone.
again, when you were here earlier, you told us that you had to not give that poor man very much money for his land because it was, something about, it was a bargain because he couldn't sell it because it was on a scenic road or it was going to be subject to site plan review.
You're sorely forgetting and misinterpreting.
All right, then I stand corrected, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Sorely.
think where we just were was that we were asking for data and confirmation from an expert source, i.e. the well digger, builder, whatever it's called, to confirm what you're saying, and if you can get a seconded person say the same, that would make us feel more comfortable. And then I think the board can make a better informed decision.
Also, do we have any people that we know have done wells in town that we know that, we trust their opinions?
That's one question. And the third one is your comment was that there were other examples that have not been investigated. If there are, then I think you should give them again to Imai and see
Even
what
if
they
you
are.
did it, you didn't report on it.
No, you gave me Jonathan Buckman and Mario Alani.
Okay.
And you didn't report on
I
Mario
did.
Alani. Tonight you didn't.
Mario didn't have it on his, Mario didn't
I
have.
don't think we need to get.
Mario has the well condition on it.
Well, we can go and look and get it again. But Mario does not have it. Mario does not have a well.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Look, the decision was made, in my opinion, on this piece of property, and the board determined that it was appropriate for this piece of property.
Why for this piece of property?
Because we do it for
No.
every property.
It's a
Not
standard
just that one, it's a
condition.
standard
It's
condition.
not a
We
standard
only
condition.
waive
We
it
just-
for,
we just
I don't want to
said
get
section.
into the
Don't yell at me.
I don't want to get into the precedents. I don't think it's relevant in this case. We made the decision. If the decision was not something that you agreed with, that you had the ability to appeal it.
That's
you
why I'm
didn't
here right
appeal it.
now. No, I can appeal to the zoning
What
board,
we
but
can
I'm trying
do
to
at
get
this
it done.
point, no, you can't. The time period is up. But what we can do is look at a factual basis for granting a waiver if there's sufficient information to allow us to do that at this point.
So if I get
That's what we're saying.
three people that will give a probability analysis that says it's 50% or less, is that satisfactory to you? 2, 3.
I think what we'd want is something that says that you can't get water out of that site sufficient to water the lawn.
You can't.
You can't do
And
that.
you can't do that in any practical way, you know that. I mean, how do you do that without going and doing drilling tests? You can't do anything with it. It doesn't make, that's illogical.
want us to rescind one of our conditions.
Yes.
And you're asking us to do it, and we're telling you that we're willing to consider it, but only within certain limits at this point. That's what we're saying.
Okay, so specifically what you want me to do?
Give us technical information that says that, not 50-50. 50-50 is a guess. Do a test well, see what the situation is, or have somebody do an analysis who's an expert. Come back to us that the expert says, or two, says, look, this is a very strong probability or an impossibility that if you drill a well on this particular site, you're going to be able to generate enough water to sustain an irrigation system. I think we'd listen to that.
Okay. I'll keep trying that. Is there anything else?
Not from us.
Okay, point 2 on the agenda, I told Donna that I would end up, having this point. I would like to have an ongoing discussion with you about routes 117, Route 20, Route 30, about being on the list of scenic roads, because I've got an opinion that, a legal opinion, that they cannot be on the second set of roads. And so before I go into the process of being able to have that, move forward. My initial try was to obviously go and try to have the whole process removed on that. And so that was my original effort, to have an article, and I did my right, and I wasn't able to do that. The second one was an easier one, much easier one from a legal perspective. I've had, the Massachusetts Supreme Court judge say, it would be reasonable to have the effort, and I've also had 2 other attorneys say that you can go in this direction. To be able to have, and I can get a third of them, about a third of the roads off, a third of the houses in town off by Route 20, Route 30, and Route 117. And so the issue on that is the same thing, because there's a conformity in terms of 90% of the roads being matched. There's a definition of scenic roads in the state of Massachusetts.
This was not on our agenda.
This is not on the agenda.
But I was just asking as I went for, at the end, to be able to, she said, have a discussion with them, so I figured I'd be able to have time before I left.
No, it's not on the agenda, it's not published, so we can't actually discuss it tonight because it's not on the published agenda.
All right. Well, maybe we can get on the, she said to have a discussion before I went to town council, so
Yeah.
if you don't want to have the discussion.
It's not that we don't want to, we can't have a discussion on the topic that's not published on the agenda.
Okay.
During public comments, okay?
Yeah.
But not now.
Yeah, not even then, because it's such a technical topic that I'm not sure we could address it adequately in public comments. I mean, it would be something I think we'd want to put on the agenda.
She wanted me to get an opinion from you guys before, because she said, listen, I can't do this. She said, I'm servicing you. I need to be servicing the town. You guys are a town that can be servicing it. And so if it's an issue that's brought up to her from that perspective, it then can be
Understood.
And that's why I was.
Please don't misunderstand. It's not that we're unwilling to talk about it. We can't because it's not published on the agenda. So state law prohibits us from discussing it.
Okay. Well, as I've said to Imai and kept an open dialogue with him all the way through in terms of anything that I do, because I'm not looking to do anything underhanded or doing anything. It's all done with a good heart. And the 94-year-old man that was there had nothing to do with taking money from me. He was protecting me from that, because I took $75,000 out of his pocket to go and pay for $20,000 on a well and another $50,000 on other architectural fees and things that I had to do to get to the board. So that was the issue. But in terms of that process, in terms of being able to go, I've been very upfront, and I'm just being upfront again with you all, just as we had meetings before. We had meetings before with selectmen when most of you didn't attend, there was others, just to discuss and try to talk through the process. So I'm not a bad guy on this. I'm trying to do what I think is right. You guys have obviously, doing what you're right, so I'm just another citizen doing it. So I'm trying to be upfront and honest. It's not a bad guy versus good guy or good guy versus bad guy. Okay?
All right.
So, Imai, can he put this on the agenda when we next have space?
When we
Not
next
the
have
20th,
space,
not the 20th.
no, not the 20th, not the
But-
11th, we're crowded up on those.
The last time.
Yeah, you need to give me a written request, Greg. Give me a written request of what you want to talk about and then we'll see where we can put it on.
Well, it'll be, you want it to be very similar to the Article 19, should it be like that? Because that's, I mean, the Article 19 came back in 4 hours, as you know,
So-
the legality of that, but I'm talking about you want,
Yeah.
you want that
Should we
thing.
discuss that?
'cause-
No, I don't want that thing, but
Article 9.
That's the one we want to
let's
take
talk
on
later,
for a while.
okay, about what it's,
Okay.
because I'm not even sure what you're trying to get at yet, so
All
let's talk
all
about
I'm trying to
that.
get at is I'm trying to.
We can't talk
open
about
discussion.
it. Talk to Imai about it, that's all he's asking you to do.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that. All right, and I will, what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna go and try to get some additional data for you guys, and I'll come back and bring back the data that shows the, which hopefully will allow you to be able to eliminate that process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Decisions.
Decisions. Woo-hoo.
Can we look at lot 3 and 4 simultaneously, because they're probably pretty similar?
They are going to be very similar.
We obviously have to vote on them separately.
Yeah. So let's take a look at those. Here's lot 3.
I just want to make sure you got the stuff that I sent.
I did. I got the stuff you sent me. So I have the updated drawings.
Have you,
I got the updated.
have you had a chance to look at the draft decision?
I did, yes.
You did, okay.
So yeah, I printed this and then I got some info from Jay on it, so just for purpose of update, you'll notice in the dimension chart, up on the screen, I do have the full dimension chart up. I didn't have all of this data when I printed this, so like average natural grade, full heights, but now I have all of that.
You probably not the board you should
No, I don't.
do. Just checking.
No, it's plus 157. Actually, yeah, let me make that 157. That's what I should do. Does everybody have that color too? Make sure.
You just want us to talk about stuff as it comes up, as we read it?
I think maybe we should go with lot 3 first,
Okay.
just so we all know which one we're talking about. We don't have to switch back and forth. And then we'll do 4. I mean, I imagine they'll carry over regardless, but.
Smooth it out.
Yeah, like I see you got that 200 meters so fast. And under 80% natural, a large existing boulder path again, it's a boulder path. And then under maximize open
Wait
space.
before,
And then what?
and, should be and.
Right, and
Okay.
incorporated, yeah.
Okay.
And then under C, maximize open space, the second sentence, which is the meadow mix over the rear portion of the beach field. It says to transition, it's a meadow mix over the rear portion of the beach field will transition.
Or will serve as a
Right.
transition.
Well, you might be, I think.
So where's that?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Will transition.
Sorry,
This is
I didn't know you
page
started.
four-
Will transition,
Page
okay.
4 of
15.
And these are just little things. And then on F.
Can I go back up to C then for a sec?
Sure.
It says a boundary element should be incorporated. Did we give them any examples of what sort of boundary element?
We talked about boulders at the,
So, such as boulders? Can we
yeah,
put
we can
that
say
in?
that.
And it should be
But
will,
no,
not should.
not there though.
Oh, okay.
Under special conditions, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, yeah, it's gonna be a special condition that they have to submit a, since we don't have it definitive yet, that they'll
Right.
submit a plan to review.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
So put it under number 1, special conditions.
Okay.
Boundary elements such as,
Such as boulders.
Boulders.
yeah,
then I would say will be incorporated, not should be incorporated.
right.
Okay.
Right, so yeah, that sentence in will be.
And are we capitalizing things like Winter Street, or are we leaving that stuff
No,
alone?
Winter Street.
Your
Yeah.
aggregation level. Then under F, it says screening is being added at the western property line to buffer the house from the Mass Pike. Is that something we really tell them, or they just will do because they don't want to?
They're
see
doing it
Mass
because
Pike?
they don't want to. It's not a condition
Right,
of us,
it's
so
not.
it's just
It's just
relating
a
the
comment.
Just
findings.
noting it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the
And
screening.
then you missed the typo
The
on the next
screen
sentence.
planting, it says is, just is
Yeah.
being coordinated on the common property line of lot 4 to create a natural space.
Screen planting.
Yes, the screen
Okay.
planting is.
Anything else?
Under, and I don't know if that comes under special conditions, under 4, where it talks use of a common irrigation well. Can we put under common irrigation, can we say, could be used by the entire flexible subdivision?
Okay.
If they can get enough water out of it? And under limit glare, can we put down what the acceptable range is, whether it's on the left where it says limit glare to be under such and such lumens?
Okay.
Just as a general part of the boilerplate?
Both of those would be F1, would be.
No, that one should be F2. And rearranged.
Coordination is a word.
Common irrigation was encouraged.
Yeah. So we talked about that at the hearing too, that the possibility that they could, because there are 4 lots right now under one owner, that they don't need to necessarily drill 4 wells to irrigate.
Okay.
Exactly.
I see what you mean.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Where does it say that the wells
so it's both in this, yeah, it's in the standard conditions and it's in the conditions of the flexible subdivision.
require?
They said they were not going to do any blasting. Should we
No.
address the blasting if they say they're not going to?
We keep that in usually as a standard. And I would, especially on
You can
a
never
site
tell.
this ledgy.
Yeah.
This is the top of a hill.
Okay.
You could either see on 7,
7.
just have a C.
Oh. Yeah.
I have no idea what you.
Right there. This is the sea.
You're gonna have the acceptable range?
Yeah. So say exterior lighting level is under the 22,000 acceptable maximum.
Under Appendix E1, the very end, 7 of 15, this is me asking a question. It says the limit of work fence may be permitted in the field in order to protect vegetation. Alterations to limit of work fence may be permitted in the field in order to protect vegetation and allow vehicular blah, blah, blah. Can we say something about it being put back exactly where it is after access has been gained? Or they just leave it out there because it's the only access to the site?
Yeah. Which number is that, sorry?
It's actually not any number, it's after C, it goes back to the, it's 5.
Oh, the limit of.
Yeah, I mean, it says you can move it in the field, but it doesn't say how long and you have to put it back and is that your only access? And I mean, it's a little, this one here.
You what?
I'm just saying field alterations of limit of work fence may be permitted in the field in order to protect vegetation and allow vehicular and pedestrian access within the site. Well, if it's the easiest way for me to get within the site, do I ever put the limit of work fence back?
Well, that, I would think that field change has, the way that condition works is it has to be approved by me.
Okay, because I don't
If it's
read,
special.
when I see that here, I don't get that vibe.
So this is boilerplate now.
Right, and I understand, and I
Yeah, so-
apologize. I apologize for reading boilerplate.
No, it's always
That's
good.
fine, but I'm just saying
Yep,
if we agree that a change needs to be made, it needs to be changed made from now on.
okay. Well, maybe we just circle and talk about it next meeting.
Yeah, the only one that's not boilerplate is Appendix F.
Do you want
Right.
to make a specific modification relating to this particular site?
I just think field alterations of the limit of work fence may be permitted with the agent, with the planning board's approval of the planning board's agent in the field. I think it should be approved by EMI, not just them saying, oh, we couldn't quite get the backhoe through there, let's move the fence. That's my comment. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay, so you don't see the second sentence as being
I want-
related to the first one? Limit should be inspected and approved by the town planner
Right. 'Cause
or other designee of the planning board. And
then I see, okay, they've approved it, and then they go, whoops, we have to move this, we didn't realize we couldn't get the backhoe through, let's move it. That's why I see a separation.
okay. So what you want to do is add a clause in here that says, may be permitted, subject to
To
approval
approval
by.
by, exactly.
By the planner or other designee.
Exactly.
You could add that to the
Yeah.
boilerplate.
Yeah.
While we're talking about such esoteric things, we should talk about the use of the word infeasible to replace the word unfeasible, which up into the 1970s, it was always unfeasible in the Oxford Dictionary. But it's become commonplace.
What are you doing on your off
I'm
hours?
just trying to.
Where does it say infeasible?
Well,
Somebody's
right
been-
here
it's
in
really
the.
Really bored.
And it says infeasible.
Which one are you?
Last page, I'm just
It's
trying to lighten
infeasible.
things up here.
Infeasible
you
is
did.
the- is
And
the-
you
is
did.
common usage today.
Well, only from 1970, according to the
Bless you.
Oxford Dictionary.
But with
thoroughly modern.
Okay, so you're thoroughly modern, and on that note, can I move?
Yes,
Would you like me to
please do.
move to approve this?
I'm desperate.
Okay. The certificate of action, site plan approval of the flexible subdivision, Mass 265, 275, Winter Street, and it is
Lot 3.
Lot 3.
Second,
Beautiful. I like it.
With modifications? With
Aye.
modifications.
Aye, yeah.
Lot 4.
I don't got lot 4, I just
You
said.
didn't have one?
I
Oh,
don't-
here you
that
go.
means I don't have to look at it.
Here's an extra lot for. And you
Hopefully they're all the same type.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming they are.
Oh, okay.
No, they're not.
No, because this one says 45 feet on the west property. Eagle Eye Steve always picks those up.
On 415, under 3, the stormwater about the expansion of the exterior deck.
Which, is this under appendix what?
This is appendix C.
Yeah.
I think we gave them an actual square footage number.
Did we? Did we
Yeah.
do 200? Was it?
We
what?
talked about actual square footages, but we finally, I think we finally landed on a percentage of increase.
Yeah, that's what I recall. I mean,
Okay, because I thought we measured it and it said, well, we can do 200, and the next one had a bigger deck, and we said, one of them was gonna be 500, I think the other one we only allowed 200, but about the two memories versus my single.
well, whatever.
No, we talked about two different sizes, but then my recollection is that we went on with the discussion and said, well, for simplicity's sake, and because the impacts are not that different,
Okay.
just make it the same
And whatever that,
increase.
so can we give it a number, or was it a percentage number?
It was 100% increase
100% of the,
of the
Patio.
existing patio.
okay.
And on page 4, under F, screen objection features, screening planting in INS. So
Oh, that one
Yeah,
did
it's-
carry
it's the
through.
same.
Yeah.
We have a lot of the same changes, so I can just, if you want to give you the markups. we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to
We'll
go
talk
through.
about
Yeah, good, great idea. So did you do both 4 and 5? Page 4 and 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good, so we don't, you mark that up.
There's only one condition.
Right.
Same change in the boilerplate.
Yep.
Same change in the boilerplate.
Same change. Okay, I move.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the certificate of action for 265, 275 Winter Street, Lot 4, with modifications.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? That's it.
Thank
You're done. you.
Awesome thing. Thank you. So,
Yeah, the hill.
let's,
Moving right along.
yeah, can we deviate from the agenda a little bit on the town planner's report?
Yeah.
I do have the administrative approval we looked at, or some of the work within the condition for Highland Meadows, or was it 17 Pine Summit?
17 Pine Summit.
For 17 Pine Summit, they were going to enclose the screen porch.
Yeah.
So since Gary is here, I thought we could just take care of that
Sure.
really quickly.
Okay.
No, these are where I cover the administrative approvals and the town plan report, so 17 Pine Summit, so this is, yeah, we talked about this last time, you guys want more detail, so this is basically the finish he's proposing on those.
Is that a,
It's pretty much a similar unit, right?
It was similar screen porch, it's a screen porch that was converted to, commission
this
space.
has already been done for another unit
Yep.
that we approved?
I went through the building process, yes, I mean, there are about a half dozen of them out there that do that, so.
Yeah. Mark came in for every one of them, so.
Okay.
And then I think this is the other, yeah, this is the other drawing you gave me. This is basically the windows back.
Again, it's the same spec that's we've used for all 69 homes.
Okay. And there was a third document that you had there, and you.
Oh, that was the one that we had last time.
Oh, okay.
This is the one you saw before. I'll bring it over. So this is what he's proposing. That's existing, proposed.
Right.
Just go back to the first.
But,
Oh, it's just filled
but
in.
here there are muntins in the windows, and the notes on the drawing say no, no
Originally it
no
was,
grills.
the homeowner didn't want them, and then it was changed that they did, and the plans were already kind of in process during that time. But there are, windows are arriving on Friday, and they have grills.
Oh.
Okay.
You better say yes.
Okay. That's okay.
Or just don't change your mind back to clear glass.
Or they can.
I mean, it's clear glass there now.
Right,
I
it's
mean,
just like those
that's
little
not a-
inserts, right?
Well, they're simulated.
These are Marvin's.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They're
Oh.
stuck on the glass.
Right.
Oh, it's a lot harder to get them off.
Chisel.
Okay.
So basically, the condition in the Highland Meadow special permit is the board has to look at this and say whether it's minor or major. If it's major, then it's not a specific condition, but I imagine what follows is then an amendment to the special permit.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
So we're declaring this mine.
That's the request.
That's
yeah.
I think it's minor since there's a precedent, and they're following precedent.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Consensus is it's minor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you moving it on that wall.
No, bro, I didn't see you there at first, but yeah, I didn't want to wait for your decisions.
Thank you.
All in favor of it being minor?
We can make a motion if you want.
Just getting giddy.
I think the sense of the board was it's minor.
Yes.
Okay, so back to the grindstone. 66 Dublin Hill, expanded deck and at the porch.
Mine is too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it, I just saw it yesterday.
One pager, memo.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, right. Oh, you know who wanted this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She was
Yeah, totally.
She was a
She's
freaking
sweet.
talkative one.
Yes, this
Yes.
is such a nice person and,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
zero impact on
Yeah, I remember.
the
Yeah.
community.
Are we back to
roads.
66?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
It's going to be 4-0. Well, assuming it'll be a 4-0
Oh, yeah.
decision.
What?
Is that- I wrote this when it was,
Well,
when
Tony's gonna be
I
here.
figured we had 5 board members.
Oh,
So, but yeah, it's gonna change to a 4-0 decision. Just like I've been crossing Tony off on the other ones.
Right. Are y'all excited, Leslie?
Yo. Gotta keep Tony's and my seat
I
warm.
know.
Okay.
Can we move this?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not ready.
This one, oh,
What do you
sorry.
mean you're not ready?
But there's one
It's gotta be,
correction.
Here we go.
I think you put typos in there,
See if
Imai,
he's
just to see if.
Just to see
it's-
Steve.
See, wait.
I'm playing
What
that,
did you find?
that building game where you put one error for the inspector
Yeah.
to find.
Yeah.
Well, it's-
Where's Waldo?
Waldo, exactly. Where's
So
the
where is Waldo, Steve?
In the second paragraph,
Yeah.
Yes?
the last sentence, it should be adjacent to the existing deck will need to be removed.
Yes.
Yes,
Like
very
that.
good.
Bravo.
And by the same token, in the paragraph starting
He
on
did it on
May
purpose.
8th,
What did you say, paragraph on what?
starting with May 8th,
Mhm.
second sentence, that should also be will, not would.
Okay.
Yeah, we guess we gotta be all like a little, all the same tense.
I'm sort of hoping we can get out of here by
Yeah, but I was, yeah.
10:45.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's a four.
Take it,
We
Leslie.
will. No, we will do it.
Take it, Leslie.
What?
Wait,
He's finished.
I missed it, I'm sorry.
Gotta parse every word.
It's okay, so we're finished.
So-
We're gonna take a move it?
wait, not yet.
Move,
In the next
move,
paragraph,
move.
starting with the board,
The board.
second line, and the original certificate of action.
Capital action. Certificate
Of, and then capital.
Yeah.
Okay,
action.
you're on a roll tonight.
Wow.
Yes.
Can she move it now?
Yes, please.
I move that
Please
we
do so.
approve this amendment in front of us for 66 Dublin Hill Road, deck expansion.
Second.
All in favor? Yep.
As-
Second.
That's correct.
As amended, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here we go.
4-0. On to the fence.
253 Meadowbrook.
And this is just, now we have
Just
the,
close my eyes.
what is that, that wood
Oh,
stuff?
Yeah, so,
Wood stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
I hate to be a drag, but,
So what are we gonna?
No,
So-
it's,
It's okay, right?
no, I mean.
no, it's, I don't think there's
We
a
need
question
to see
here.
it.
We went back and forth on this, it's gonna be a conditional condition.
Okay.
A
Oh,
conditional
that the
condition.
neighbors approve.
Yeah, and
occupancy.
then we have a chance to look at a submittal,
Yeah.
An amendment?
assure ourselves that.
Yeah.
So I did this because this one was a variance and we really wanted to outline the findings of why it was okay in this case.
Yeah.
I went full decision on this one, just
Yeah,
to.
full
to-
Monte,
okay.
right here.
And just so you know, when Imai sent this out, I looked and I called Reliable Fence. They don't do AZAC, they do vinyl.
Oh, no.
I
Oh.
told you.
Pardon?
No,
So they,
reliable fence, I was looking at something,
So-
it's shell vinyl.
it's shell
Yeah.
vinyl,
So
so.
it's gonna
It's not
crack.
AZAC.
It's not
No.
AZAC. So the question is, did they, somebody
We're
to
looking at
speak
Reliable
from the
for something
vendor,
else.
was it, because they say the only
Yeah.
vendor is X.
Now, yeah, I talked to Marguerite this afternoon.
Okay.
She said, if the condition is wood, she'll do wood.
No, but, okay.
But I think she can do AZAC, we're just saying that if she
That-
thinks
that
she's getting
company doesn't
AZAC,
make it.
Marilla.
if she thinks she's getting AZAC, she's not.
Yeah.
That's sort of a heads up to
And
her.
vinyl is,
Finally, you wouldn't accept,
Vinyl,
yeah.
and that's the shiny stuff that the
unacceptable.
neighbors
Yeah.
don't
Not
want.
the
and
neighbors.
it falls
Yeah.
apart,
Yeah.
you know,
So-
almost
So
overnight.
how do we make sure that this happens? And even if it's ASAC, we want to see a sample.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
up on the screen, I have the amended condition that, again, I printed this before we had gone through this and gone through the condition. So, here it is, the condition 3 on the screen is what I'm proposing. Jonathan White did suggest, besides notify the abutter, have the abutter approve the use of the alternate material.
I worry about what this, yeah, when you say or similar
Yeah, I
alternate.
worry about that too.
Okay.
It's called, what is it called, cellular PVC, I think is the word that AZAC calls itself as a generic material.
Okay.
Or
I think that's what it
equivalent.
is.
Use
So
ASAC
I think they
or
call it
equivalent.
cellular
How
PVC.
about just ASAC or equivalent?
Equal.
Or equivalent, you could use that. And I think it's
Okay.
cellular,
Yeah, similar alternate, you could say they're both plastic, so there's.
yeah,
Okay.
right. That's got it, you're right, exactly right, Mr.
Spec
Carter.
language, we need good spec language.
Equivalent. He's right, equivalent is the right word.
And I think that should be the applicant may use,
No.
in lieu of
No,
wood,
AZAC is.
the applicant may
You're
use.
thinking
Okay.
of
And that gives them the flexibility,
I
that's
wouldn't say
good.
ASAC, I would just say ASAC.
Hardy Plank
I
is,
confused the two.
AZAC, not an AZAC.
Okay.
I do right now?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah,
one
I got
one
you.
is wood fiber and.
The other is.
One's the composite is
and-
different.
And an epoxy binder. The other one is actually a foam plastic.
Oh, it kind of looks wood-like and doesn't have the loss of the.
Yeah, that's the
I
exact,
see.
Trespa is another one, I think. No, Trespa is the wood composite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
wood fiber.
AZAC's the only one I can think of that's like that.
But I
I
think
don't
Home
think it's an
Depot has
equivalent.
something similar.
Is that like deck?
And Lowe has something that's similar. No, that's a Trespa you're thinking of.
AZAC is, people use it for trim.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't shrink like hardy board.
Actually, actually it
Oh,
does
it's not-
move.
it does.
It moves quite a bit, actually. So you don't want to use it in long runs. I don't know why we're talking about this.
I know, because I was being educated.
Okay.
Fascinating, okay. And it was to give Steve a chance.
And it wasn't gonna be alternate, it was gonna be equivalent, right?
Yes.
Yep, so here's equivalent.
It's very stable. It's that short.
AZAC or equivalent.
And we still want to see a piece of it to approve it.
Yeah, material sample and specifications will need to be provided.
Yeah, that's what you said in your email.
Including information on the close finish for approval prior to
Done
installation.
wrong if you read that.
Right.
Can you say also approved finish and color?
Hold bond to it. So
Okay.
it's gotta be, you have to have a
They have
primer.
a special permit.
Gotta have a special primer, bond to it, so that he can bond it primer.
Huh. Well, who knows? Now I know.
That's 1 foot, right? 1 foot from the property line?
Yeah.
So all this other stuff is.
And just write out the word foot.
Yes,
Okay.
or 0 inches.
So that's what's gonna go in the decision?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And are we gonna put the height in there to deal with what the ZBA told us?
The height is gonna be,
It's variance, because that's at 7 foot part.
So if you look at the standard conditions that we usually use for locating the house, E3-2, I have fence location and height is to be surveyed by a registered surveyor, stamped with a stamp certification. E3-2?
Right.
E, 3, 2,
Right.
H, 8.
But this is-
wait a minute,
Did you
that's
put
not
that
a
in a
standard
standard
condition.
No, I took the standard condition that we normally use and tweaked it. Should that go with
Like the one
special?
I
Special.
did that.
Okay,
Yeah, don't, otherwise,
muddy.
you'll never find it again.
okay.
And also, should we somewhere in here say per the ZBA decision, the fence shall be whatever it is, 7 feet or 8 feet, as shown on site plan? Because that's where the real variance comes from.
Well, we need to look at the special conditions.
So that number 2 becomes number 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
Oh, I see,
right.
you've got it here under fence dimensions, under dimensional chart. Variance
Right.
granted by the ZB.
Where is it?
It's under appendix B, it's got the note of it under fence dimensions under height. But it says 6 feet variance granted by ZBA. Can we say,
Okay,
You know-
variance from 6 feet.
right, exactly, something like that?
Well, have they, oh, that's right, they have.
Oh, well, the zoning, okay, yeah, for resident B, 6 feet is the standard.
Right.
Variance, yeah, okay.
7 and 8 feet
Yeah.
granted by.
You want some comments?
Yes.
On 1A, it should, right in the middle, and would not be visible from Meadowbrook Ring Road, not any Meadowbrook.
Where are you?
See that?
Which one, where are you?
He's on paragraph 1A.
It's the line
Oh,
above
okay.
CC.
Yeah, from Meadowbrook.
And what does O mean? There's no O in the legend.
Ongoing?
So then you need to add O to the
Wait.
legend. And then, 7 utilities should be C, but I guess my question is, like 7 and 10, what do these have to do with the fence?
Nothing. I mean, that's just kind of.
Is that confusing to be included
Yeah.
in, or and if it's
What about not applicable?
Yeah, we should do it as NAs, yeah.
Yeah, so they should just be blank.
Blank.
Not,
Or not applicable.
yeah, which,
Yeah.
right, which you did for some of the others.
Which I did for 10, yeah, so
Okay.
it should be just.
So 7 and 10 will be not applicable,
Yeah.
just like 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Can you go back to 1B?
Sure.
Not sure what it means, and stop short of existing spruce trees to allow them to fill in and act as buffer.
So the existing spruce trees were planted as landscaping from the original site plan approval.
Okay.
As that, so.
Can we just say stop short of existing spruce trees?
Sure. But the purpose were they were supposed.
You were explaining it, yeah.
Yeah, to get bigger. I mean, they're not full grown
Grown,
yet.
right.
Yeah. So.
Otherwise, it looks arbitrary.
Yeah.
Oh,
is
okay,
what-
all right, it seemed a little confusing to me. I wasn't sure. Which were planted to
Yeah, we can
serve as
give more
buffer?
background to that.
We
which
can
were-
just say which were planted to serve as buffer?
Mhm.
My turn again?
Yeah.
It is, huh?
Yeah.
I move that we approve 253 Meadowbrook Road site plan approval amendment, dealing with the variances granted by the ZBA for a 7-foot and 8-foot fence respectively shown on site plan.
Second. With, yes, and did
As
you say
modified.
as modified?
As modified, thank you, as modified. All those in favor?
No, you don't
No?
do that.
You can't do that? Sure, I was on a roll.
You're on a roll, but Chairman, that's Chairman's job.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Later, you have to wait.
I was waiting for the 10-foot trying to get out of here.
I know.
Don't, no, that's okay, trust me.
Okay.
That's way okay.
All right.
All right, planner report?
Town plan report, next Tuesday, we have
Do
a
we
site
have
visit.
minutes? Does anybody have?
No minutes.
Okay.
No
I
minutes.
didn't do the 4-4.
And I haven't finished up 418 yet.
All right.
Sign them to us.
Yeah. So, June 12th is our site visit at Liberty Mutual. June 19th, site visit at the 179 Church Street tree. Easiest site visit ever for Steve.
Right, that's the one. I will make that one.
Oh, yeah. I
And
will not
what's the
be-
one in the middle? When is the mutual?
June 12th.
But at 8 o'clock, I don't have that on.
I don't either.
I don't either, yeah, and
Okay.
actually, I'm not here. The 19th, we'll have one, right?
Okay.
Church Street.
Let me make sure I send out the invite for
Oh, yeah, we've got it.
Make that one.
Oh,
Is Tony gonna join me tomorrow
That's
for
the
the Ash
tree.
Street?
So it's Liberty Mutual.
I don't know, he didn't say to me. I thought he didn't say yes or no, I think he said he,
With the-
well, when I
don't
first
know.
asked him, he said yeah.
Yeah.
He said yes, but I don't, he didn't read, he
It's
didn't
we're at,
ask me.
we're at 11
Yeah, she said.
o'clock in the reservoir, is that the idea?
It's right.
I'll have to go back
I
and
gotta
look.
remember, yeah, I don't,
Okay, you're not gonna be there.
I can't be there tomorrow, so.
I'll bring a camera.
Okay, and then next meeting is June 20th.
So.
Do we know if the ZBA is meeting on the 20th or not?
It is.
But do we know if Boston Properties is gonna be on their agenda?
I think it is.
Really?
Huh?
What?
I think it is.
They'll at least have,
I mean, because it's a
That's,
conflict.
yeah, that is something.
yeah, I would.
Do we know what time? I mean, would we be, what time do they normally
You
start?
know, the question out there, the ZBA meeting on June 20th conflicts with our meeting on June 20th. Is Boston Properties on their agenda? It actually is on their agenda.
Okay.
That's what I was asking. And so, the question is, could we clarify whether whether they're actually gonna be hearing the Boston Properties proposal on the 20th.
I will check. Okay.
Do they start earlier than we do?
So if they start, I don't know.
That means they start at 11, we could start a little, I need to say later.
I don't know. Nope,
We'll
I don't know.
find out.
I've heard that that a number of people, I've been getting buried in emails. People are saying, what's going on? Why are they on the agenda? They're on the agenda, the ZBA agenda, and I know from nothing.
And we don't know why.
I don't know why.
So normally I know that these things go on the ZBA agenda because they're obligated to continue to a date certain, unlike us. And so so when they last continued.
That was my hunch.
Yeah.
I just don't know for sure.
But yeah, we'll get a for sure answer. Okay. The other things I wanted you to take a look at for administrative approvals, 12 Autumn. So they want to relocate their infiltration system, which was under the driveway here, to here. They ran into ledge.
This is like the third location.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the difference here. This was what was approved.
Which one was approved, on the left or the right?
Left.
So what's the second one?
The 2 units on the left were approved, and now they want to do what?
So, no, this is the septic system here.
Where,
The long rectangle.
Yeah.
and the little one is just.
Little one is an infiltration
Yeah.
bed. So they want to move the infiltration bed down to here.
Where?
At your cursor.
On the
past
right.
it.
Yeah.
Over on the
Oh, I see.
I
No,
see
I got
cursor
you.
applying at
Oh,
the
I
top.
see.
See it now, it's, there's a
Oh, yeah,
red
right,
cloud
right,
around
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Does that mean
So
they're
how
gonna
many
move-
trees get cut down for that?
Right.
None. No trees get cut down. They were already grading out this area,
Oh, yeah.
so this is,
If
so
they're putting
no,
the infiltration
In
system
the
in the
grade?
slope?
yes.
But
Dave
there's
has
a
looked at
breakout
this and
problem?
he's okay.
Okay.
They're putting a membrane in front of it, I guess, to stop it, but Dave has looked at this, he's fine with it.
And they're just gonna plant
That's
lawn
sloping
over it?
down.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's sloping down to the stream.
Is it,
They
is
still
it,
have to go through conservation, well, they have to at least let conservation know, I mean, it's riverfront, so I gotta.
is it lawn or is it just?
Lawn,
Yeah.
Very steep grade, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's always been a steep grade there, that's,
Okay.
and then the other one is 346 Highland. They have asked to take out an oak tree right here on the edge of the driveway. Proposed driveway.
Looks like they already did.
No, that's it leaning right there.
Is that a gash in
This
it?
guy
You mean the
right
one that
here.
was
The
under?
one that's on,
No, that's the one that fell down from the storm,
Oh.
right there.
Looks like it hit the construction
Is
trailer.
this under construction?
Yes. 346 Highland. This is it right here that's leaning with the red arrow.
Is it
Has it
lean
been
because it's sick or you
destabilized?
just grow that way?
is there a reason it's like leaning, or is that a new lean? Or-
No, it is, I think it's
Does it
always
have
been
that?
It
down.
does look a little hairy.
But here is their
Rationale?
arborist report on it.
It's on the target of the
Construction
house.
damage.
Let me guess.
See, the 45% of the rootings.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Leading music, yeah.
Yeah, right, so, okay, so it is unstable because it's missing most of it.
But was it always at that lean?
I don't know.
Because that lean is significant.
I think it was undermined, that's my guess.
Usually when you take the root ball out, if it goes, it's going to,
The trouble is, how do you know, it is what it is now, so.
Yeah, no, it's gonna come out.
Well, what
It's
about
not gonna-
replacing
has
it?
to be
So the
replaced.
replacements here that Kim recommended that they have on this plan are a 2.5 to, I used to almost remember what an Acer room is, but.
It's red maple.
It's a red maple. I don't even know what the QRs are, the red oaks. So, and another one here.
do they really want
So that's
to
what
do
Kim
So
recommended.
some red maples along.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fast growing.
But that's taking the place of
This
one tree,
oak, yeah,
but there's nothing going where the oak was.
You can't really because of the
no.
trunk of the stump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that is.
Okay, if she's fine with that.
But yeah, she's reviewed this and she's okay with it.
Okay.
And this is their suggestion.
We did, so we also, this is where we reviewed, you went out and reviewed the rock.
The
wall,
rocks.
The rock.
Yeah, that was a
face.
long time ago, that was like a year ago.
This is sort of
It just
historic
feels like a year.
restoration, right?
Yes.
Historic
Yeah.
restoration.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah.
got 5 minutes,
So
right?
let's-
4.
4 minutes,
So-
we're out of here, let's go.
So that's it.
Okay.
That's it for, that's it for,
Bravo.
we went through the 3 items that I had to go through for the town planner report, so
All right,
we're okay now.
Move to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
I